Naruto exclusive videos lemon come out on my Boosty. You can watch and subscribe. Link in the description, like the video and write a comment, enjoy watching. Description: Naruto finally understood. He was only needed to fulfill the prophecy. In this world, in this place, at this time, no one else needed him for anything, so why should he be there? But Hagoromo, seeing the pain of his son not receiving love for all his life, decided to change his life by throwing Naruto into an alternate past. But who said that everything would be so simple? Prologue. I realized I was an extra detail in this world from the very beginning, because how can you explain that after the prophecy came true, I still turned out to be a useless idiot? After the war, everyone went to their loved ones, friends and families, and I just walked aimlessly. Sometimes I think, what if I had not been born? The prophecy would have come true anyway, but it would have been fulfilled by my father or Nagato. But if my father fulfilled it, then at least they were waiting for him, and if Nagato, then no one would be waiting for anyone. From the very beginning of my life, I was unwanted, I was an outcast, a demon, a punching bag, but not Naruto. I put on a fool's mask and wanted recognition, and even more I wanted to be needed by someone like Naruto, not as a shinobi, but as a person. Yes, I just made friends with my peers. I thought that life would eventually get better, I would not be lonely, and I would have a girlfriend, beautiful Sakura-chan or timid Hinata-chan. I even had a choice. Ha! It's funny to think about such a thing, because the world does not need such a thing, so I must fulfill the prophecy, and then be thrown away as an unnecessary detail that has served its purpose. In that war, where there was a smell of blood and burning, where the corpses of people were countless, I left my soul. In the literal sense of the word, because in that war I died together with my friends who fell, and now I am just an empty shell, a killing machine, which the elders so wanted to create. I remember, as if it were yesterday. I remember the moment that was not enough to save Shikamaru from the Ten-Tails spike, the moment when Choji drank his clan's powerful destructive pills, thereby giving us time to prepare for a joint attack. He himself fought the filthy Jubi, how Kiba fought, being trapped, against hundreds and thousands of Zetsu, believing in our victory to the end and saying, "Thank you," at the end. I remember how Sakura-chan apologized for all the bad things she did to me, and as a sign of her love for me, poured all her life energy so that I would recover from a fatal wound and defeat Kaguya. I remember how Kakashi-sensei and Obito protected Sasuke and me from Kaguya's bones so that we could save the world. And I remember the last fight with Sasuke, where I won, and with my last breath, Sasuke and I made a seal of release from the eternal Tsukuyomi. Dying, I thought about meeting my friends, and for some reason my soul was so calm, maybe because having died, I will finally be able to be in the circle of my friends and acquaintances. And I remember how I woke up in the hospital, although I did not expect it, as I remember how the nurse answered my question in a cold tone. "Sorry, but he is dead." I remember that I was taken to prison, since I was the only one who survived and fought against Kaguya. They thought I killed others and wanted to rule the world, because I am a demon. Luckily, the Yamanakas checked and disproved this possibility. Damn it, I remember everything. I remember all the pain. I remember all the losses, because I still have nightmares to this day, not leaving my soul alone. After the war, I gave up the power of Rikudo. I didn't want anyone to have extreme power, just as I didn't want any more Jinchuriki to remain in the world, because Biju are also beings with a soul, and finally, for once, they listened to me. Now, for 10 years, there has been peace. The old generation will not forget the horrors of war, and the new generation will know the true peace that, according to the prophecy, I was supposed to bring, and I did. All my remaining acquaintances began to live with each other, managed to forget those horrors of war and live in the present, while I was left alone. Ino started a relationship with Sai. Now they have a son named Inujin, the heir of the Yamanaka clan. Shino also started living on. It seems he became a teacher at the academy. Yamato-sensei led all the Anbu, and Tsunade-ba-chan wants to pass the Hokage post to me. No one needed me. I refused to become Hokage, because Itachi clearly said that I needed to be recognized and only then I could become Hokage. So why do I need recognition from people who do not want it with all their hearts? That's why I went to Anbu. However, there were problems here too. Again, they do not recognize me. But now it is my mind, they say that I am too straightforward, too stupid, noisy, clumsy, and most importantly bright. I had to change to become a shadow, because I was tired of shining in front of everyone like the sun. From 16 to 18 years old, I read all the basics of chakra and its control, the entire history of the world, all the books in the library and in the archive, trained like hell, because only in this way could I forget, only in this way could I return to my form, because I did not have the power of Kurama. Knowing the basics helped me a lot in improving the Rasengan. Before that I just added some Kekkai Genkai or elemental chakra to the Rasen Shuriken. At first, I increased the chakra and its density thanks to clones and meditations, and I still do this to this day. After that, I learned all the elements and elemental techniques, up to the S rank. Fortunately the predisposition remained after all the Biju, but not the Kekkai Genkai. It turns out that the Rasengan is a rapidly spinning neutral chakra. My father could not finish it, since he did not imagine how to make a spinning sphere from elemental chakra. When I created the Rasen Shuriken, I simply poured in the futon chakra and made a futon core inside the Rasengan. After a couple of experiments, I made a water Rasengan from spinning water senbons, which Tobirama called the heavenly crying technique. The coolest thing is that it does not harm the user, but has a penetrating power dozens of times more powerful than a regular Rasengan. I tried this with Katon, but even though I created this technique, it refused to throw, and in close combat it harms the wearer more. Therefore, I had to dodge and come up with a better use for it, compress it to the limit, as the Biju did with the Baijudama, and then release it as a beam. This did not work with Right-Un, and Raikiri, which was similar to Rasengan with lightning chakra, had already been created. Therefore, after I found the proportions of Right-Un chakra, I was able to create a disappearing Rasengan. Of course, after the first year of training, I was accepted into Anbu, because I had changed a lot and wore dark orange in many ways, but one thing remained irreplaceable, the red and black Sannin cloak. After I stopped being a Jinchuriki, the Sannin mode became easier, so I also learned to collect it in motion. Fortunately I succeeded in this too. As soon as I got into Anbu, I was allowed to take any techniques that I want to learn. Of course, there were hereditary ones, like my father's techniques or my mother's seals, but I decided to learn everything. Fortunately, clones allow it. So, before my 28th birthday, I learned to work with Jakuka Nijutsu, created Horatian portals, my own space like Kamui, and in many ways all such things, very complex, so I did not achieve much. In addition, I learned the Uzumaki seals, thanks to my mother's scroll. Yes, there was one scroll, it was a sealing scroll of the main branch. It seals all the knowledge of the Fuin of the main branch, and as soon as I opened it, with the help of my blood and chakra, it sealed all the knowledge in my subconscious, which was very convenient, because in this way the secrets of the clan are preserved. There was everything here, and everyday seals like sealing Right-Un chakra to create a light bulb, water chakra for a shower, bath and toilet, a stasis seal instead of a refrigerator, secrets of barriers, Juinjutsu, Fuinjutsu, combat seals and much more. After such a gift, I decided to learn more about my ancestors, about Uzumaki and Namikaze. At first, I dug through the Anbu archive, then the Anbu root archive, and then I was very shocked. Danzo, Hiruzen and the rest of the elders, in order to learn the secrets of the seal of submission, silence and much more, helped the coalition of 3 countries to pass through the Uzumaki barriers, opening them from the inside. Being allies of the whirlpool, they had access to the Uzumaki barriers. I had to come to terms with this. These parasites have already died. The one whom I considered Gigi turned out to be a traitor and spat on me from a high bell tower, made a pawn in his hands, and manipulated as he wanted, giving the command to protect the leaf. But he died, so there is no point in doing anything. After that, I went to Yuzushio, where I saw the ruins of a huge village. Even when it fell, it was larger than the current Konoha, and this is only one clan. In Yuzushio I found a lot of interesting things. For example, in the annals of the clan it was written about the relationship with Senju, and conflicts with the Uchiha. But the most important thing that attracted me was the Namikaze clan, destroyed 50 to 100 years before the appearance of Kakurazato. The annals say that they were universal shinobi, like Senju, Hagoromo, and others. They did not have Kekkei Genkai, but their distinctive feature was the genius of development like the Nara, only if the Nara were lazy, because of which they were strategists, and they had to enter into a double alliance with the Kimichi and Yamanaka. Then the Namikaze were warriors, so they managed on their own. However, the chronicles say that the clan was destroyed by a four-tailed lava demon. Son Goku never even mentioned my clan. In fact, no one ever told me anything. Since childhood I was in the dark about who my parents were and what my roots were. That's how, working in Anbu, I always got my hands dirty in blood. All the missions were successful: espionage, reconnaissance, elimination. All the tasks that were given to me, I did without unnecessary questions and without unnecessary noise. The perfect killing machine, almost devoid of compassion. Now I'm already 29, and I'm tired of everything. The last few years I commanded Anbu, now I'm applying for retirement from Anbu and a career as a shinobi. Of course Konohamaru told me to take genin. This way you will have students and, as possible, at least some kind of outlet. But I refused. I don't want to be like Kakashi, walk tired in front of children, and always be late for their training camps. I'd rather be at the grave with friends and tearfully ask for forgiveness in front of them. This gives at least some peace of mind. Well, I submitted my resignation from the shinobi. I want to either travel or live as a hermit in some part of the Land of Fire. I didn't want to make new bonds. I fell asleep thinking that tomorrow would be a new life. At least I just wanted to leave the village. But it seems that it was not destined to happen. Old man Rakuto. I was surprised. And I beg your pardon? Call me Shinigami. The melodic voice of the girl in front of me sounded. I am the goddess of death. Oh, did I send you too many souls? Did you come to punish me? Hagoromo smiled, and the goddess laughed. Oh no, you see, you were killed. We meet almost all shinobi, sending them to the pure world. Rakuto sighed sadly. We looked through your entire life. You changed a lot. The elders were afraid that you would become the second Madara when they heard that you were leaving the village, because you stopped being loyal to it. I see. So you came to take my soul and finally give me peace? I asked hopefully. My son, Rakuto sighed sadly, you are the only reincarnation of my son, who was never loved. It hurts me to watch this, and it hurts to watch how Ashura's pure soul withered under such blows of fate. Even the souls of Indra received love. The same Sasuke had a loving family and brother in his childhood. Because of this, I asked Shinigami-sama to give me the opportunity to give you love and happiness. We will transfer you to another world. Nothing is known about you there. You can live peacefully. But you will have a companion. Protect her. And what will I have to do? I frowned. I didn't want to live any longer. I wanted to meet my friends and parents. And I'll also have to live with someone. Live. Shinigami smiled. It seems like they read my thoughts and are now making fun of me. You wanted to be a hermit, live as a hermit. If you don't want this, you can change the world. You will end up in a parallel world that is in the past. I see. What do you need from me to get there? And who will be my companion? And how long will I go back in time? Nothing is needed about the companion. You will soon find out, as well as about the last question. The old man grinned slightly and clapped his hands. A moment before losing consciousness, I was able to see the silhouette of a 13-year-old girl. Chapter 1. Introduction. Before losing consciousness, Naruto saw the silhouette of a 13-year-old girl. In a clearing in a green dense forest lay two unconscious bodies, one body of a boy, the second body of a girl. Both of them had sunny hair, and if the boy's hair was sticking out and stood like a hedgehog, then the girl's was smooth and combed into two tails. The 13-year-old teenager was dressed all in black and had a red cloak with black fire at the bottom and the kanji of a toad sannin. But the girl had orange short women's shorts, a top of the same color, and a white cloak with red fire and the kanji for Big Kush, which very much resembled the cloak of the Yondaime Hokage. On her forehead she had a protector of the Hidden Leaf Village, and so, the couple lay unconscious for about 5 minutes, after which, oddly enough, The girl was the first to wake up. She opened her azure eyes and thought about what had happened. The situation from Naruto Namake's side. What happened? That's right, I was killed in my sleep. It's so shameful, the Hokage's daughter, everyone's favorite Namake's Naruto died in her sleep, not in battle or on a mission, like true shinobi, but in her sleep. I don't understand the point of revenge. They took revenge on my father by killing me, and then my father will take revenge on them. After that their relatives will continue this and a new war will begin. Well, why do they all need this? What I remember for sure is that Rikudo Sanin was hovering above the ground and telling me that I was killed and that I would be sent to another world, but they didn't explain why. And also that sarcastic smile of Shinigami and Rikudo's little grin. Oh wait, I'm not alone here. Some blonde guy with a buzz cut, he looks a bit like me and my 3-year-old younger brother Menma. He must have woken up. At the same time, I was analyzing the situation with my eyes closed. There was a girl lying there with almost the same chakra as me. Judging by the chakra flow, she was not sleeping, and she was obviously transferred here just like me, so there was no threat from her, and she had no intention of killing. But still, I stood up abruptly and took out a kunai and grabbed the girl. She screamed but obediently pressed herself to the ground, realizing that if she kicked then I could kill her. This even amused me a little, and after examining her, I realized that in front of me was my seduction technique that I did in my youth. Who are you? I asked phlegmatically, looking at the girl who looked so much like me. In general, I had absolutely no interest in asking who she was, but I did the opposite, and then purely out of politeness. I, Namake's Naruto, and you? The blonde asked curiously. Even though she was captured, she did not feel threatened by him. I am Uzumaki Naruto. I introduced myself reflexively. But realizing what the girl said, I asked again, Namake's Naruto? Are you joking like that? Don't make fun of me and my name. The girl was indignant. Tell me your real name. It's my name, not yours. I was indignant in response. I had to calm myself down by force. Sighing, I stood up and let the girl go, and then continued, it seems we were transferred here from different worlds. In my world Naruto is me, that is, a guy with the last name Uzumaki. So in mine, Naruto is a girl with the last name Namake's. The girl nodded, smiling broadly and looking at me with interest. That is, her copy from another world, and you are attractive. If you lived in our world, you would get married. Otherwise all sorts of nasty parties are pushing all sorts of things on my father to marry me off and become related to the Hokage. Father? She told my father? So Minato was alive there. This is very interesting. I already want to hear her story. In your world, your father is alive? Of course, why? In your world, your parents are dead or something? The girl was surprised. Yes, I sighed, seeing how Namake's was trying to ask me something. Let me briefly tell my story, and then you yours, okay? Of course, Naruto perked up, but first, what should I call you? Naruto? I thought, because really, how should we christen each other? Reflexively, I scratched my chin. Considering that I was in the body of a 13-year-old boy, it looked comical. So Naruto burst out laughing. Hey, what's funny? Okay, you know, over the past 10 years you've caused me more emotions than everything else put together, so I'll give you a name. How about Naruko? After all, Naruto is basically a boy's name. I decided to teach the girl a lesson and take this name for myself. I didn't want to change it at all. You just mangled my name. She bristled, pouting her lips. Her face took on a grimace of anger and resentment. It's my name too, actually. One of us will have to take a different name, well, or both of us, but why? To be fair, the girl cried out, belligerently raising her fist. I involuntarily raised one eyebrow and smirked skeptically. Are you kidding me right now? In the world of shinobi and justice? Take off your rose-colored glasses. Hey, Namake's flared up, trying to refute my words, but she nodded obediently and sat back, accepting her wrongness. Okay, you're right, one of us needs to come up with a name, and it's better that you keep my name so as not to get confused. But Naruko is really a good name. Namake's Naruko, she chewed and jumped happily. I sighed, because I remembered how I was just as cheerful, which made me smile a little. Then I will be Namake's Naruto. while you were leading your monologue, I entered the hermit mode. I can say that Konoha has not been built yet, and this means that Uzumaki shinobi often go here, and I do not want to expose myself or go to them. You're right, Naruko nodded. Now tell me your story, she asked, putting her hands on her knees. She was just bursting with curiosity. Well, my story is probably an order of magnitude sadder than yours, because I lived without parents from the moment I was born. I winced, remembering my orphan life, full of love. They died on the day of my birth, sealing Kurama inside me. Who? My interlocutor interrupted me in surprise. This knocked the ground out from under my feet. But remembering that her parents were alive, I relaxed. I was never distinguished by envy, so I was neither cold nor hot from the fact that Naruko had parents. Kurama, you don't know him? The nine-tailed bijou, I answered indifferently, and the girl perked up and pressed herself into the ground. So you know why such a reaction? I was also the Jinchuriki of this demon, she said in a trembling voice. Did you try to talk to him or make friends with him? I decided to clarify, so I raised an eyebrow while crossing my arms. No, I was told that he is a demon of hatred and is always trying to deceive the Jinchuriki in order to break free and sow chaos, Naruko answered me, fiddling with the hem of her t-shirt. I see, I mumbled, feeling offended for my friend. After all, even after ceasing to be a Jinchuriki, I did not break off communication with him. The only one with whom I did not break off communication and did not stop being friends. You did not even try to talk to him and became a victim of prejudice. Hey, are you defending a demon? Naruko raised her head, looking straight into his calm azure eyes. Yes, I made friends with him and freed him, and after that we often talked together. Bijou are not bad, at least in our world. I shook my head, and my interlocutor bit her lip. If she was braver, she would have made friends with the demon. Okay, forget it, I'll continue my story. So, the nine-tailed one was called Kurama, and the people of my village found out that I was a Jinchuriki when I turned 3. Because of this, they hated me as a child, believing that I was the same demon as the one who broke free a few years ago. In the end, the prejudices of some were passed on to others. Everyone began to hate me. You would probably become the same. Don't talk nonsense, Naruko got angry. Until then she had been listening to the story with her head down. I would never hate a 3-year-old boy. Even if I would lose everyone because of a 3-year-old boy. Even if you saw Kyubi in him? I squinted, trying to catch the lie in her words. Even if so, the girl nodded. I know how to forgive. You really do look like me when I was a child, so small and innocent. I smiled with the corners of my lips. After all, some were right when they said that I warmed everyone with my optimism. What do you mean? She frowned, and for some reason I suddenly wanted to lay out her wrinkles. She looked so cute. I was also so cheerful, because it seemed that from the age of 13 to 16 my life began to improve. And then the war happened. Almost all my friends died there. I became useless again. Even when I fulfilled the prophecy that brought peace to the world, no one thanked me. No one waited for me and did not love me. I shuddered after realizing what I said. It is not like me. Have I really sunk to such a point that I try to attract attention with pity? I felt disgusted with myself. I had to forcibly stop thinking about it. So I went to Anbu, worked there until the 29th, and wanted to leave the village to travel. However, they killed me, thinking that I would become the second Madara. After the story, my soul became calmer. Surprisingly, it seems that my friends were right about the fact that I am a good listener, because Naruto herself, without realizing it, helped me, letting me speak out. It's a pity, sighed Naruko. It seems she sensed my state and thoughts, so she dispelled the silence. Do you pity me? Although I should have expected such an answer, but I hoped that this would not happen. For the first time someone shows me pity, and on the one hand it is unpleasant for me to hear this, and on the other hand I am happy. Of course. She was sincerely indignant. I don't know why, but I feel sympathy for you, probably because you are different. I am from another world, and I am offended that I from another world had such a sad and lonely life, she finished sadly. But I promise you, now you will not be lonely and sad, I promise you this. Otherwise, I am not Naruto. Naruko Namikaze, the girl was inspired, making me smile. as if I were from the past. Maybe I can return to myself my past optimism and compassion. Thank you, Naruto. These are the words I always wanted to hear. Now let's listen to your story. Well, we lived normally. I was born normally. There were no stories with Kyubi, like you, but it still had to be sealed in me. The girl winced. My parents said that my mother was still a Jinchuriki, and thus deceived everyone. The three of us lived as one friendly family. However, because of the extraction, my mother could not give birth yet until she completed the recovery course prescribed by Tsunade Bachan. People found out about Kyubi when I was 12, there was a scandal then, after which people began to fear me. Well, my life was measured. About 3 years ago, my little brother was born. They named him Menma. I was 16 then. I died at 19. I feel sorry for your family. I sighed sympathetically, understanding how painful it is to lose loved ones, because I myself went through the same, and if it is also your own blood, come on, the girl waved her hand, they still fell out of love with me. They think that I was a disgrace, the daughter of the Hokage, and at 19 I still haven't received the title of Jonin, shame and disgrace. They say, like, with the genius of my parents, to turn out to be mediocre. Only Menma sincerely and childishly loved me. You're wrong. I even shook my head sharply to myself, and seeing the girl's confusion, I decided to explain. If your parents loved you once, then they still love you to this day. They just probably got disappointed in you and thought that if they cooled off a little towards you, then this would motivate you. PFF, what motivation? They would have supported you better, she snorted. So, we have a 10-year difference. Should I call you older brother? Or just Naruto? As you wish, I smiled warmly. What? But I always wanted to have an Emoto. After that, looking around, I said, it's getting dark. I don't feel anyone with my sensory abilities, but I think it's worth finding a secluded cave to sleep. We'll continue the conversation there. Chapter 2. Deciding what to do. Naruto and Naruko got up from their seats and jumped onto the tree branches. Looking around, they realized that they were in the land of fire. Then Naruto entered Sannin mode and scanned the area. He determined their location and where to go to enter the nearest cave, which he hurried to tell Naruko. Oga, and and the girl drawled unctuously, and I flinched as if from a slap. After all, the tone of her voice and her address were new to me. Do you know Senjutsu? You're cool. Unlike you, I learned it at 16, I answered phlegmatically, but the notes of sarcasm slipped from my lips. And so, you said something about marriage. Aren't you afraid to put an end to this by addressing me as Anai-san? Oh, come on, you won't find a girlfriend except me anyway, she smirked. And that was offensive. But I learned to keep a straight face, just like Uchiha, so outwardly my face didn't even twitch. If you try, I'll rip your balls off. We're not even dating, and you're already telling me such things. I feigned horror, picking up her game. If I weren't 29, I'd be embarrassed. Oh, come on, the girl chuckled and jumped from the branch right to the entrance of the cave. Is this the cave? Yeah, honestly, we need to decide what to do. I sighed dejectedly, realizing what an unenviable situation we found ourselves in, so I decided to tell her about it. We're in the land of fire. I feel Hashirama's chakra nearby, and Madara's chakra much further. We got into the territory of the Senju clan. Judging by the chakra, they are still 12-year-old teenagers who only meet on the Hokage mountain, so we got there approximately in the period of time 7 years before the formation of Kakurazato. According to the stories of my world, of course. I see, they also founded Konoha in your country, the blonde confirmed more than asked. And what should we do? How are your skills? The body is too weak, because of which the physical energy is like that of a typical 13-year-old boy. I smiled bitterly. After which I continued, you know that chakra is a combination of spiritual and physical energies, so now the chakra is greatly reduced. I winced. However, if you train the SCS and the body, then you can use strong techniques. But now the maximum is Fuin, clones, basic techniques and Sannin mode. And what are we going to do? Go to some village? I won't go to Senju and Uchiha. Sasuke team was enough for me for the rest of my life. And then, as if by a snap of my fingers, I remembered my best friend and his fate, remembered how I fought to defend his eyes from the elders who wanted to grab such a trophy for themselves, remembered all our curses, rivalry and friendship. I began to really miss my old best friend. And she noticed a glimmer in my eyes, and she was overcome by a clear understanding of what was said. "Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot that you lost many friends. Oh, my stupid head," the girl sealed it, guiltily looking away. "It's okay," I smiled slightly, but the sadness in my eyes did not diminish. "We are not going anywhere. I wanted to live as a hermit, and I will live as a hermit. With the help of clones I will make myself a house, make an illusory protective barrier and put up a household fuin. If you want you can come with me, if not," I shrugged, "I will put up a fuin of silence and send you to all four corners of the world. I will stay with you." "But what about food and clothes?" Naruto was covered in sweat, realizing that she would not communicate with anyone else. However, her interest in Naruto exceeded the need to contact someone. She did not have real friends as such. Probably only Sasuke team and his brother Itachi, so she would not get used to this. There should be a village nearby that accepts mercenary orders. At least there was such a village in my world. For now I have money, it will probably be enough for us until we are 16. If we buy clothes, equipment and food, and if we also hunt ourselves, we can live until we are 18 without earning money. "I see, aren't you afraid that we will be robbed?" The girl was curious what Naruto would do in the role of her brother. "If anything, I also have a fuin with money. They won't rob us if we spend little, only when necessary, and if they try, then at least I have Sannin mode for now. I can quickly run away, stop Haracian. I need to try teleporting." "Have you mastered it?" "No," she shook her head, to which I was amazed. "How can you not learn Haracian in 19 years of life, while having a father who was nicknamed Yellow Lightning for this technique?" "Yes, in her place I would have learned it in the first 12 years. But apparently reading my thoughts, she answered, "My father did not train me, and I could not learn it alone." You are right in some way. This is an S-rank technique, and it is difficult to master but easy to use. Okay, I will teach you everything I know, and you are also lucky that I carry a scroll with all my techniques and their descriptions in my seal, as well as a sealed library of knowledge in my head. I grimaced, remembering the pain I received when the knowledge was sealed in me in the form of a library. Okay. Let's move on to pressing matters. My body must withstand Haracian, but first I need to use it a couple of times, so as not to vomit later or so that my head does not spin in dangerous cases. "So now we are not afraid of being robbed," she smiled broadly. "Yes, that's right, and if we get back my previous level in the next 3 to 4 years, we will be on par with the shinobi gods and even higher. Tomorrow we will settle in, and after that we will start training. We will need to check the elements. I have a bad feeling about this." "Okay, will you go get some brushwood?" asked Naruko, bowing her head and smiling maliciously, "or will I lie on the bare ground?" "I'll just get some for myself now," I snapped, but smiled. After all, I haven't talked to anyone like that for a long time. Praise Rakuto for his adventure. "Okay, you'll get some brushwood. I'll even make a fire now. You won't freeze. You wear some shorts that expose your legs." "Beautiful, huh?" Naruko said, putting them in a good light. She wanted to get me to compliment her, which made me snort loudly. "Kids, you do understand that I'm almost 30? And your flirting seems so funny to me that if I weren't more restrained, I would already be lying on the floor dying of laughter. When I grow up, you'll see how beautiful I am." She frowned and pouted, turning away. I forcibly suppressed the desire to squeeze her cheeks. She looked too much like a cute hamster. Well, I didn't say that you're ugly." The blonde looked at me furiously. It gave me goosebumps. That was the look Tsunade gave me when her patience was running out. "What, did you want to?" "Of course not." I decided not to anger this fury and raised my hands in a reconciliatory gesture. "Okay, I'll go get some brushwood and branches for the fire." That night, after sitting around the fire and telling stories from life, both of the Namikaze clan fell asleep hugging each other. Naruko wanted to feel the warmth and protection that the blonde gave. She had not felt it since her father began to act coldly towards her. But Naruto was afraid of nightmares, very much afraid of nightmares, so much so that he agreed to lie down in an embrace with a little girl. But most of all he was afraid that this was a dream, and now he would wake up and find himself in his world. That's why he pressed himself against Naruko, and she did not resist. And thanks to this, for the first time he slept without nightmares, and in the morning he was more cheerful than ever before. "You know, Naruto, thank you," I said, smiling. Finally, I slept like a log and didn't have nightmares. I wanted to jump and rejoice like a little one, but noticing the blonde's silent question, I hurried to answer before that. All 13 years after the war, I had nightmares. Yesterday was the first day when they didn't haunt me, that's why I thank you. From now on, it will be only like this, she grinned widely. Let's then choose an area for housing and its place. Unpleasant thoughts crept into my head that I could lose her as well as others, and I should not get attached to her, but I decided to change the subject so as not to think about it. Are we going to hunt? So it's best near the river in the forest. The girl began to mumble. And a large area, with a training ground, with a house, with springs, with a garden, a park and a swimming pool. She clearly lost her sense of proportion, and now, clapping her hands, she squealed about how cool all this would be. A drop of sweat even rolled down my temple from her requests. By the way, I didn't ask you yesterday, but why do you want to live with me separately from civilizations? I wanted to know the answer to the question gnawing at me, and it's better to ask her right now than later. If you want, we can move to a small village. No. Naruko shook her head. To be honest, I'm also tired of living in the village. It imposes at least some obligations, and I really don't want that. I want to live freely, free from statuses, looks and whispers. I see. I nodded at this statement, because I understand what she was talking about. Then now we'll find a place so that the Senju won't find us. There we will put an illusory barrier around the perimeter. You will stay here, and I will go to the village for food. After I come, we will make ourselves a house with the help of clones. I sometimes help the builders as a carpenter. The first time was when I was 13, on the Great Naruto Bridge, I said proudly. However, I did not change myself and my face did not twitch a muscle, so I will be able to make a house with 2 floors, but it will take a month with clones. In the village, I will also buy a lot of building material for the henge, so just wait for me, okay? Yes, Naruto Taicho, the girl said, kneeling. Let's go, I joked in the same tone with her, although I would not have said such a thing to another person. Hi, Taicho-sama. After several hours of searching through the forest, the work of the Namikaze clan members paid off and they found the perfect place. This place was on the territory of the future village of Konoha, a flat and wide clearing of several hectares surrounded by forest and divided by a river into 2, while the clearing had a round shape. This is the perfect place, sighed a girl of about 13, imagining her house, pool and hot springs here. Some kind of resort is turning out. But it is annoying that soon the Uchiha and Senju will come to this place. That's right, we need to install an illusory barrier here for now. After we settle in, I will make a protective barrier. There are a lot of healing and expensive herbs here. Let's hope that no one knew about this place, I said calmly, understanding the future scale of the problems, in case we are still noticed here. And then, when they find us, we will seal all our things with the house and get out. Cool, Dadabayo! The girl shouted, smiling happily. Now stop shouting, I hissed, making 20 clones. We don't need someone to hear us and twist us. And then turning to the clones, I began to command them, ordered them to place the seals of the illusory barrier along the perimeter, exactly 360 seals for all 360 degrees of the circle. This is the strongest illusory barrier in my arsenal. After I finished with the barrier, I staggered, in the body of a 13-year-old. Such actions were too tiring. What happened? The blonde leaned against me worriedly. Nothing special. A little tired. Give me half an hour to meditate and I'll be fresh. I smiled weakly. After half an hour, I stood up and stretched. During this time, Naruko joked about her antics in childhood, giggling at her own jokes. This picture made me admire her, but the time came, and I stood up from my meditation pose. That's it, now I'll go get things. What did we need? Building materials, clothes, food and ninja equipment. For the first time, Namikaze listed everything. I'll probably buy some seeds. We'll make our own garden in the backyard of the house. In response, I thoughtfully threw out, looking sideways at her face. Wow, you're a genius, Naruto and I, and the girl sang, hugging me. I was dumbfounded, and then slowly responded to her hug, basking in this warmth that I had never felt before. Of course there had been hugs before, but this was completely different, an ordinary friendly hug, and here, I was overwhelmed by a gamut of conflicting feelings from tactile sensations. Okay, go already. Otherwise you froze as if you had never been hugged. I jerked and said a quiet thank you and jumped over the barrier, and the girl realized that she had blurted out something, because he really could never hug, and scolding herself for her stupidity, she began to think about what to do to make amends. In order to think better, she sat down to meditate, frowning, scanning the area for threats. At that time, the guy was running at all the speed he could. No, he wasn't hysterical or crying. After all, he had been a shinobi almost all his life and had survived. Not only that, he had also experienced worse things. But the aching pain in his chest didn't go away. Images of friends, his beloved and mentors flashed through his head, making the shinobi even more desperate, gritting his teeth and clearing his thoughts. He continued running towards the small village of Otafuku, which would become a major trading city in the future. Everything he needed should be there. The sun could be seen among the green crowns of the trees. The blonde navigated by it, and determined that it was still 2 days, and he could rest for half an hour, and then continue on his way. He reached the village at 4, slightly out of breath. He looked at the village with 1-story or 2-story houses. The buildings were well kept and mostly either red or white, although it was wartime, but it seemed the war had not touched these lands. Having applied the henge of his 29-year-old self with only coffee-colored eyes and chestnut-colored hair, 2 strands of which were tied with bandages and framed his cheeks, Naruto went to the building materials store. Having ordered everything he needed from there, such as nails and the like, the blonde under the henge waited for the seller to come out of the warehouse with the necessary things. He looked askance at the stranger but sold everything. However, he nodded to himself when Naruto sealed all the things, as if that explained all the oddities. Then the blonde decided to go to the grocery store, because food was more necessary than equipment, and having bought food for a month, as well as seeds of various vegetables and fruits, he again sealed everything in a scroll and then in a body seal. He had a feeling that this place was not touched by poverty, but this was explained by a simple reason. The village was under the protection of the Senju and was far from the Uchiha, so he decided not to bother about it. After the grocery store, he decided to go for ninja equipment. Hello, Kurama. Hello, Kurama, what do you need? The seller with glasses arched his head questioningly. I need 2 katanas and 2 standard ninja gear with an increased supply of kunai and 10 chakra conducting sheets. How increased? The merchant decided to clarify. Instead of 50 kunai, give me 100. That will be 120,000 ryo, the old man said, looking at what seemed to him a stately man. Don't lie to me. Looking into my eyes, such people infuriated me, and I could barely keep my cool. Katanas cost 20,000 ryo, and gear for 5,000, even with the extra kunai and papers, it would come to 60,000 ryo at most. It's wartime now, so all the gear costs twice as much. The merchant clicked his tongue, standing his ground. Then farewell, and good luck with your trade, I answered calmly, and turned around to leave. Okay, forgive me, Kurama-san, take your equipment, it's 60,000 ryo. The merchant hurried to please the buyer. I calmly took the things and sealed them. After leaving, Naruto had to go towards the last store, a shinobi clothing store. Having reached there, he decided to order a clan cape, because at that time, clan shinobi were respected and feared, even if the clan was little known. It was lucky that here they mainly accept orders from the Senju clan, and clothes with the clan's monum are not uncommon. Therefore, he ordered a black stretchy t-shirt and loose ninja pants of dark orange color, and for the girl he ordered a dark women's t-shirt and a sports top, as well as orange shorts and pants. On the backs of the t-shirts, he asked to embroider a keyed kunai lowered down, and instead of marks to put the kanji, lightning, as a sign of the clan. Also, he decided to take several of the same dark orange kimonos. Even despite the work of Anbu, Naruto loved the orange color. The seller finished work after an hour and a half. It was already 7 in the evening, and Naruto, having sealed all the things and also having paid for everything, hurried to leave the village towards Naruko. However, as soon as he left the village, he was surrounded by 5 shinobi without any clan affiliation. He stood up straight, and realized that they needed the money he demonstrated. So now these idiots will start talking about money and all that. So using the opportunity, he began to accumulate nature chakra. Hey you, whatever your name is, It doesn't matter, began the first shinobi with blue hair, an emaciated body and a hungry look, as if he hadn't been fed for a month. But I did not feel sorry for them. The work of Anbu saved me from the excess of this feeling, so, man, give me all the things you bought and the money you have, then leave in peace. We don't want to kill you. Ah ha ha ha, I burst into wild laughter, so that they would not attack ahead of time. To stupefy people to delay time was the best tactic. In the past I often used it, and while the body made this mechanism automatically, I was still accumulating Sen chakra. Do you think that I earned this money by pure labor? Yes, I killed losers like you by the thousands, and you are next. Mom will get your blood, I said, smiling madly and remembering how Gaara did it. As far as possible I released my Ki in a wave-like manner, scaring them. After all, Ki does not depend on chakra, but on a person's bloodthirstiness and spiritual strength. This had an effect on the shinobi, and they involuntarily took a step back, and then, having gathered himself, the leader shouted, "He's bluffing, kill him, I have to give him credit." He came to his senses quickly. And so, two of them immediately rushed at me in close combat, but I had already collected enough Sen chakra and entered the hermit mode, so sharply reducing the distance I jumped into the air, twisting and kicking both of my opponents with both legs in the manner of Uchiha Madara. After such a strong kick, they flew away from me towards the trees. A dull knock on the tree was accompanied by the crunch of vertebrae. It seems they will never get up again, since I am sure that they do not know how to thicken the skin with chakra. But instead of thinking about the fallen, I continued to run to the others, simultaneously dodging the kunai and shuriken that flew in my direction. I also quickly disintegrated with them. After all, the Sannin mode gives privileges in strength and speed. So I fought at the level of a Jonin, although if there was no mode, I would have barely dealt with the Chunin. Damn, said the last one remaining, the one who was talking. He started to fold the seals, but he was interrupted by the enemy, who with a loud poof transformed into a 13-year-old boy. The shinobi was so surprised that he did not even notice how I unsealed the katana and with a jerk cut off his head. Then, having finished off the rest of the lying ones just in case, I sealed them in scrolls and then burned them. Not wanting to risk it any further, I decided to teleport to Naruko and fell unconscious under her. Chapter 3. Kekkei Genkai. I sat in a meditation pose and thought about the current situation. I understood that I was not in my world, not in my time, but I like it. I like being next to my male copy. After all, he is like a brother, he cares and takes care of me. And if you consider that we will live alone as hermits, then I will be the only one with whom Naruto will communicate. Only recently I was called that, but I have already accepted my new name. But now I have to apologize to him, and I can't buy him off with money or gifts like I did in the past. He's not that kind of person, and he doesn't need money. Exactly. He didn't have a close person who would take care of him. It's decided. Naruko Namikaze will replace the blonde's mother, sister, and if necessary, a lover. But at these thoughts my cheeks involuntarily flushed. I had to hit them with my palms to come to a normal state, because I won't be doing this for myself. Definitely not for myself. Well, maybe just a little for myself, that is, for my own interest. While I was mentally arguing with myself, my meditation was interrupted by a noise. Stopping my previous activity and looking towards the noise, I noticed a battered Naruto, who looked at me once and fell unconscious. I caught him before he completely fell on the rock and carefully placed him on the soft grass. After which I immediately began treatment. In the past I studied with Tsunade Bachan, but no matter how much I tried to learn Shosen, it was impossible because of the Kyubi. Now I will devote a lot of time to this and learn. The main thing is to get the scrolls on Iri Ninjutsu from Naruto and work hard. While Naruko was examining the boy for wounds, she noticed that he looked quite cute and handsome in his sleep. She was so carried away by looking at his face that she missed the moment when he stood up. The first thing I did when I woke up was look at her with my azure eyes, and she stopped glaring at me and blushed slightly, stepping back from me. "What was that?" I asked sarcastically, knowing full well what she was feeling. "Shut up!" She barked and hit my head with her fist. Damn it, who could have thought that she would react like that to ordinary sarcasm? At the same time, she had just been shyly looking at her knees, And a moment later she pounced on me like an angry fury. If you ask something like that again, you'll get more. Do you understand me? Why, yes, I babbled, rubbing my bump. It's better not to argue, or I'll get a second one. It means my mother's character. Okay, I went to the village successfully and bought everything we needed. Successfully? As soon as you teleported here, you collapsed unconscious. What happened? Tell me immediately. Naruko screamed. It was obvious that she was biting her lower lip from excitement, so I decided to explain myself to her quickly. Well, I was attacked by 5 shinobi of the level of a weak chunin, maybe a strong genin. I defeated them, but in order not to risk further, I teleported and my body could not withstand it. I scratched the back of my head a little stupidly, not knowing how to behave. In general, I am not used to people worrying about me. I am used to not relying on others and not communicating with anyone. And anyway, what am I making excuses to the girl? Am I ANBU, or what? I see, the girl drawled. So what now? Nothing. I saw no reason to worry about this, so I said it in my phlegmatic voice, thinking about what to make for dinner. I could not think of anything better than the usual roasting of meat. Naruko, make a fire. Now I will roast the meat, and we will go to bed. It is already getting dark. Then I stood up and took out all the things I bought from my body seal, waving all this off and telling the blonde that I'll figure it out later. I took the meat I bought and started frying it. After frying the meat, we started eating. We ate in silence, thinking over the whole situation again. We forgot to buy dishes. Naruto casually started the conversation. I kept silent, although I remembered the seal on my chest where there are a lot of household items and clothes, including dishes. So I'm an idiot, you didn't have to go for clothes. Hey Naruto, what are we going to do? Well, tomorrow I'll start construction, as well as training. We'll check our control and chakra elements. I said I have the things we need on my body fuin. I told you that I was going to leave. Before going to bed I sealed the dishes, furniture and clothes. Only they are big and masculine for us. And what clothes did you buy us? Asked the girl with curious eyes. I bought shinobi clothes for us. But before putting them on, I'll put a couple of fuins on them like an increase. When you grow, the clothes will also grow with you. Stirring the fire, I threw it without even looking at her. Her questions were already irritating me. I see. But what are we going to do with the weapons? You bought them, right? I sighed, thinking she would leave me alone. I bought weapons, that's enough for now, we'll order more later. I don't want to make a forge. Okay. The girl yawned and went towards the sleeping bag. I'm going to bed, you don't sit for long either. Good night, I answered, thinking about her. I definitely like spending time with her, but her curiosity is very annoying, and I've lived like Sasuke for the last 13 years, and now I understand him perfectly. I just need peace and quiet. The next morning was sunny. Since the blondes were lying in a sleeping bag, they almost immediately woke up from a bright ray of sun that mercilessly shone on their eyes. Having stretched and stood up, the teenagers first went to swim, but this task seemed more difficult than it should have been. Hey Naruko was indignant. Go away from here to another place, and don't look in my direction, pervert. You're the pervert, I flared up in response. Because of the nightmares I didn't get enough sleep, and now this melodic, but ringing voice cuts my ears. It really irritates me. What difference does it make if I swim there or here? I'll still see your body, and even then, you're still too young for any fantasies. You're wrong. The girl frowned and then smiled slyly and turned into her old body. Well, now you have to leave and let me wash. After that you yourself will come here. I sighed heavily and nodded, because I had no desire to argue with her. But I still stared at the girl, which is why I got hit with a frying pan. After all, she is not deprived of beauty, sunny hair, beautiful pale skin, a wonderful figure, and azure lively eyes. Once upon a time I had the same lively eyes, but lately they stopped screaming. This is visible in the reflections of the water, and now I am gnawed by questions like, when did I become like this? Why do I kill people because they have no money and they stood in the wrong place at the wrong time? Even yesterday, why didn't I just knock them out? When did I become so callous? I want to scream at the whole neighborhood, let off steam, let go of the past and live like Naruto, serenely and calmly. But the past itself does not let me go and comes in my nightmares with new strength. I looked at the naked girl who was humming a sweet tune to herself and washing herself in the river. Sasuke, if you were here, what would you say to me? Probably something like, you are a weakling Uzuratanki, afraid of getting attached to someone and losing them, although you always talked about the importance of bonds, but now you push them away, you are a coward Uzumaki, nothing more. It's all true, I'm worthless, I'm a coward and a weakling, I'm not even worthy of being called Naruto, because the hero of the Godfather's books would never give up, and I gave up a long time ago. But now that I have this little bitch, I want to smile. I want to let go of the past and live in the present. I want to forget myself in these feelings and bathe in her warmth. Maybe this is how Naruto therapy feels like that my friends joked about. Although, it's worth calling it Naruto therapy. After doing all the water procedures and having breakfast, we got to work. We both created 10 clones and started building the house, and we ourselves began to train, and we started with a warm-up. After finishing it, I decided to take the responsibility of the teacher upon myself, so Naruto taking out the elemental papers, I said, now we will look at our elements, you know what to do with them. So here you go. The girl took 5 pieces of paper and let chakra into them. The first piece of paper was cut, the second one was crumpled, and the third one lit up. The rest did not react to the chakra. I did a similar operation, and unlike my friend, I had all 5 elements. However, I had a strong premonition of something strange, and I took the 6th piece of paper and wanted to see if there were any Kekkai Genkai, and so, I let chakra through the piece of paper and it went through my hand. I, like Naruto, did not understand what happened, so a large drop of sweat flowed down our temples while the gears in our brains were spinning, thinking about what had just happened. What? Naruko shouted. Her cry brought me out of my stupor and thoughts. What is this? And why do you have this and not me? Why am I never lucky like others? Naruto, you have to awaken this thing in me. And what is it? You still haven't answered. Ha ha ha! I burst into hysterical laughter, because I realized what it was. Now I'll have to put on a spiral mask, call myself some Toru, and say what a good boy I am. It seems like some kind of Kekkai Genkai related to intangibility. But how does it work? This is something new. Naruto thoughtfully scratched her chin like Kamuya Bito-san. Abito-san? I snorted mockingly at such an address to this person. Why are you addressing him in a respectful manner? Because he was the main candidate for the post of Hokage after my father, Naruto said instructively, and seeing my distrust in my eyes, she hastened to ask, what's the matter? For us, he was the one who started the 4th World War. He was the murderer of my parents, and the one who committed many atrocities. The girl widened her eyes at this statement. Okay, let's forget about it, and start training. And I wonder how you are going to train intangibility? And what techniques will be based on it? I don't know. Obito's Kamui works differently. At the moment of intangibility, his material body is in another dimension, while the illusory body fights with the enemy. My intangibility works differently, and I need to think about it. I shrugged and began to meditate. After all, it is easier to think like this, and I needed to think about the presence of a Kekkai Genkai, and exactly this one, and if possible, plan a couple of techniques based on it. By the evening, when the clones finished 1/15 of the work, we went to bed. At this rate, about 2 weeks passed, during which time Naruto and Naruko built a 2-story house with all the amenities. On the first floor there was a spacious kitchen with a hall, as well as a library with shinobi scrolls that Naruto managed to copy from his memory. There were stored basic knowledge about ninjutsu, kenjutsu, taijutsu, genjutsu, bukinjutsu, fuinjutsu, irininjutsu, and jikuka ninjutsu. Scrolls with techniques based on Rasengan, Hiraishin, and elemental techniques were also written down. All this was written down for Naruto, and so as not to forget. Also, most of the reports of Orochimaru's scientific works that Naruto was able to copy from the Anbu archive. Honestly, he did not expect that Naruko was Orochimaru's favorite and his assistant, so when she saw everything that the guy copied and her eyes lit up, Naruto realized that he was in trouble. On the second floor there was one large bedroom and 2 smaller ones, as well as a bath and toilet. All of this worked on Fuin, which had to be filled with elemental chakra. Let's say everything that worked on electricity was recharged with Raiton, the stove with Katon, the bath and toilet with Suiton, the air conditioner with Futon. Naruto thanked the kami for his knowledge of Fuinjutsu. They also began to return their former strength tightly, and train like hell, loading themselves and their clones in all areas of Naruto's knowledge. Even in Kenjutsu, where they fought with katanas, but Naruto promised that soon they would train with the three-pronged kunai and other types of cold weapons. The relationship between our main characters has progressed. At least Naruto stopped avoiding the girl, and she in turn promised herself to be close to her Naruto and not share with anyone. She already realized that she had become attached to the guy, but she could not do anything about it. Chapter 4. Senju. In almost a year, they managed to build a pool and hot springs, as well as a garden of various vegetables and fruits. They had fun together, and while they were building all this, they laughed and told each other all sorts of stories. Although only Naruko laughed, the blonde at most let out a light chuckle. They did not want to contact anyone else, so they hid as much as possible from the Senju, Hagoromo, and Uchiha clans. In these places they were the only ones who fought. Also, members of the Uzumaki Namikaze clans trained hard, learned to control their chakra. Naruto and Naruko relearned basic elemental techniques, and they even managed to use B rank and lower techniques. Naruko also studied Hiraishin and had success. At least she had already mastered movement well, and learned to move at distances starting from 10 meters. And only recently our heroes began to master the Rasengan with its variations, Fuinjutsu, Kenjutsu, and Taijutsu. Naruto, during this time, was also trying to understand how his Kekkei Genkai worked, although it would be better to say Kekkei Toda. At first, the blonde was simply trying to feel what he felt when he conducted chakra through paper, but it did not lead him to any success. He could not even understand what elements he was mixing. Therefore, the guy decided to try to go through the tree, because he believed that he was a practitioner, not a theorist. But after 2 or 3 attempts he discarded this idea, since it was not cool to hit your head against the tree every time and listen to Naruto's laughter. And when she suggested just holding the branch in his hands and passing it through himself, Naruto made the famous gesture with his hand and face, thinking about why he himself did not think of it. So after that, the teenager sat in a meditative pose and began to transfer chakra into the palm in which he held several branches. So he sat for months, trying to understand what needed to be transferred there. Even with clones things were slow. He mixed everything, Futon with Doton, Katon with Suiton, Raiton with Futon, Doton with Katon, and so on, took different proportions of spiritual and physical energies. Even tried to do this with the help of Onmyoton, but nothing helped, and then he began to combine 3 types of chakra, thinking that it could be a Kekkei Toda, and he was right. Air, Raiton, and earth, all that was needed to become intangible, and as Naruto understood, he becomes a solid gas that cannot be dispelled. This makes him better than the members of the Iburi clan. Naruto guesses that Raiton is needed so that its gaseous state does not dissipate in the wind or other strong things, and air and earth as sealers and weakeners of the physical body. So, when Naruto realized this, he immediately guessed how to train his Kekkei Toda. You need to try to go through things of different density, like with chakra control. First dense things come, like stones, then less dense ones soil, trees, after which you can try to apply intangibility in water, and then even in the air. This is probably the highest form of intangibility. In theory, you can even make other people or things intangible, as well as increase the time spent in this form. A year passed, and Naruto only realized how to train his new ability, and this upset him. One day, a year after our arrival here, Naruko and I were sitting on the Hokage mountain, although she was not yet one. Naruto's POV, we were sitting on the water and meditating, dispersing the chakra along the chakra channel, thereby increasing the volume of chakra and strengthening the SCC. And suddenly I felt the chakra of several people nearby. Naruko perked up, and I, without a second's hesitation, abruptly grabbed her and hiding, used the seal of concealing chakra and smell. What happened, Kenji? One of that group of people asked displeasedly. He was a tall, dark-haired middle-aged man. He was wearing a red armor with the Senju symbol. Sorry, Butsuma-sama, he looked down. As I understood Butsuma's subordinate, but I felt the chakra of 2 shinobi here. They did not look like the Uchiha, but they were definitely clan members. Its density is high. The exact reserve is unknown. So what? You don't feel them now? Butsuma frowned, At that time I remembered him with shock. He was the father of Shodai Hokage and the head of the Senju clan at that time. No, Kenji shook his head. Their chakra suddenly disappeared, as if they disappeared from this place. Really a concealment technique? Or a movement technique? Butsuma thought. Search the entire area, deliver them to me alive. I frowned at this statement. The Senju should not find our habitat, so it is worth leaving now and not giving them a reason to look for us. Naruto seemed to understand this gesture correctly and nodded. Sorry, I spoke while removing the concealment technique and leaving the tree crown. The representatives of the Senju clan perked up and stood in a fighting stance, turning around, but seeing me in the body of a 14-year-old boy, they calmed down. Naruko appeared next to me. You are probably talking about us. My name is Naruto, and hers is Naruko. Yes, excuse me, do you need something? Naruko asked while examining the group. There were 5 shinobi, Butsuma, a certain Kenji, 2 strangers and Hashirama. He looked at the guests with curiosity, and he was no more than 13 years old. What are you doing in the Senju lands? Butsuma asked sharply in a cold tone. What clan climbed onto these lands and how many of you are there? Excuse me, what are you talking about? I frowned, frantically thinking about what to do. We won't hold out in an open fight. No, of course, we have Haraishin and Senjutsu, but we won't defeat 5 strong shinobi of the Jounin level. There is no clan, we live together, and we ended up here by accident. If necessary, we will leave. No, Butsuma interrupted his interlocutor. We feel dense identical chakra in you. Such chakra belongs to clans. I will not believe that you are hereditary. And if you do not say it in a good way, then everything will be bad. Okay. I waved my hand and sat down on the ground, sitting Naruko next to me. Everyone opened their mouths at such impudence. Our clan no longer exists. We are the last survivors. We live together, and we trained here. What kind of clan? Butsuma asked the most important thing for himself, still ready to attack the children. Don't dare lie. If you are from Haguroma, then we will find out anyway. You have a sensor. It will confirm that our chakra is different, I answered calmly. From the outside it seems funny, I, a 14-year-old teenager, so calmly communicate with representatives of one of the strongest clans of the Country of Fire. Kenji nodded at this statement, showing that we are not from the Haguroma clan. Then which clan? I'm asking for the 3rd time, don't anger me, boy. Butsuma was already starting to lose his temper. Namikaze. I decided not to anger him further. We are the last representatives of Namikaze Ikizoku. And what are you doing in these lands? Hashirama became interested. Settled, Naruko answered cheerfully. I nudged her in the side, as if saying that only I would conduct the negotiations so that she would not blurt out anything unnecessary. Yes, she's right, and if you've run out of questions, then we'd like to leave. I continued, being especially brazen so that if they allow us to live here, we'll pay less, because I'm sure that we'll have to pay for the land at that time, and they'll find our clearing, so. And why so early? You understand that you can't settle in our lands without our knowledge. And where did you come from? I haven't heard of such a clan, and how were you destroyed? From the land of the earth, I lied sharply, not letting Naruko speak. No one knew exactly where our clan lived. Namikaze, this is a ghost clan with good skills that fell under the hot paw of Son Goku. Our settlement was destroyed by Yambi. Although we did not fight, we had bad relations with the Kamizuru clan, so we had to flee from there. I understand, but Sumo said you either have to leave our lands, or join us in the war. Forgive Butsumo-san, I shook my head. Everyone except the head of Senju widened their eyes at such an address, but we have recently settled here. I sincerely ask you to leave us. Anyway, we will be useless to you as shinobi. Any person is useful in war, the stranger immediately began to deny. But Butsumo shut him up with his hand. I am not bad at distinguishing people and their strength, the head of Senju Ikizoku began mysteriously. I did not like such a statement at once, and I do not believe that you could be useless by hiding for so long. Do not anger me, otherwise you will become ordinary slaves. And Naruko, I sighed. For the others it seemed that I gave up, but I had my own plans. Take my hand, and as soon as the girl took my hand, under the puzzled looks of the others, we disappeared. Simply evaporated, and it was not shunshin or a concealment technique, it was some kind of movement technique, or to be more precise, a modified Haraishin. Your mother Batsumo his searched the entire area. Do not miss anything. We must not let them get away to San Hashirama called out to him when the others left. And who are the Namikaze clan? And what do they specialize in? I don't know, but at least they have good movement and concealment techniques. The head of the Senju clan said thoughtfully, we need to get them. Batsumo-sama, Kenji shouted in the distance, and as soon as the father and son approached him, he continued, I don't feel them, but there are barriers here, they are most likely in this clearing. The censor answered, pointing his finger at the wide clearing, I thought so. I could feel the Uzumaki chakra from them, they are most likely half breeds. Interesting, muttered Batsumo, looking at the barrier. It can be broken through, but it will take a long time. It is easier to hack, but we will not be able to get through. The maximum that Hashirama can do is, I will go there, father. The teenager responded decisively. No, the father of the future Shodai Hokage shook his head. We do not know the exact number of people. They could lie, and even if they did not lie, there could be traps. So let's get together and attack them with the earth technique. It will cause the most damage to the barrier. Hi Batsumo-sama, said the members of the Senju clan, and began to fold the seals of the earth spike technique. And so, after half an hour of such blows, the barriers could not withstand and broke, and the members of the Senju clan saw a picture of a beautiful place with a large house, hot springs and a pool. There were members of the Namikaze clan with gloomy looks. We do not want to fight with you, I said. The clone left under the concealment technique gave me all the information. So I already understood that they want information about techniques and our skills from us. A 2-story house was sealed. Nearby, forgive us for not telling you about our presence and goodbye. Wait, shouted the dissatisfied Batsumo. He did not want to let such personnel go, since they could affect the outcome of the battle. Let's come to an agreement with you. The two Namikaze stopped, tension hung in the air. You give us a scroll with those techniques, and we will let you live in peace. It's a clan secret. I immediately found the answer, and as the heir, I cannot spread it. Heir? Batsumo raised an eyebrow. Does that mean your sister and the clan Haim are next to you? No, he is not my brother. Naruko shook her head, but the members of the Senju clan snorted mockingly. You have similar chakra, Kenji explained condescendingly. You are twins, and your appearance is also very similar. Don't pay attention to her. I waved my hand, realizing that now she could aggravate the situation. The girl snorted offendedly at this. So, the most we can give you is a couple of scrolls of elemental techniques. Batsumo thought tensely with interest, looking at these children who made him tense up today. And for ordinary elemental techniques you want to settle here? You understand that this is a large place, and you could build a village here? Give us 3 to 4 years and we will leave here to travel the world, and you can build whatever you want here. I nodded, because I understood that this was the best scenario, although he gave up very quickly, which was suspicious. Then, you will pay rent for this clearing every month, carry out one mission every 2 months on our behalf, and you must give us Brang's fire and lightning techniques. Batsumo said they had specialists in water jutsu and earth jutsu, but some members of the clan had fire and, in rare cases, lightning, and that's where good fire and lightning techniques were needed. In the end, the blonde and the head of the Senju clan agreed on the techniques of the explosion of dancing flame, right done, false darkness, and several more such techniques. Naruto insisted on the agreement so that they would not be deceived. This would be necessary if the Senju kicked them out. The blonde was able to ruin their reputation, because the clan's reputation at that time was one of the most influential things. No one wants to deal with those who can throw them. In the end, the members of the Senju clan left, and the members of the Namikaze clan remained in their clearing and restored the barrier. Chapter 5. Hospitality. All the way back, the members of the Senju clan were thoughtful. They jumped along the familiar roads to their village. Many thought about the techniques that the blonde showed and the barriers with seals, but Hashirama thought not about him, but about that girl. He really liked the beautiful sunny girl with her spontaneity. Even when her brother was tense, she was cheerful and kind. Batsumo noticed the thoughtfulness of his eldest heir and grinned. Hashirama, he drew his son's attention to himself. I saw your look. You were too silent today, and I understand you. But you cannot even dream about her. She is from another clan. Firstly, that is, at most she will be your concubine. Secondly, they will need to restore their clan, and for this they need partners with weak genes, or those who have the genes of their clan. Do you understand what I'm hinting at? Yes, Tosan Hashirama sighed resignedly. They will either be together, or they will take clanless people as couples, so that their children will take the clan genes. You are right, his father nodded, but I wonder how people from the land of Earth were able to take Uzumaki as wives or concubines. Do you have any guesses on this matter, Raiga? But Sama Raiga began awkwardly. I don't think that their mother was forced to give birth by force. At least then they would not know the Uzumaki clan seal. There is some inconsistency here. Either they lied about the land of Earth, or one of the girls of the clan faked her death and left her island. But the Uzumaki do not betray their own, so I have no ideas. Yes, they are strange children, though, Kenji thought. Tell Toshi? Why didn't we just capture them? The man named Toshi winced with displeasure. After all, they are children, and they probably have their clan's techniques. They could have shaken them off. And why? Raiga said cheerfully. They could have run away. After all, they had already sealed all the things, even the house, and with their movement technique, it would have been easy. And so at least they knocked out a couple of B-rank techniques of the elements of fire and lightning, and also the money that we need at the present time, and they do not interfere with us. However, Uzumaki should be told about this. But Sumo nodded. On this basis we can extend the alliance between our clans and get much more money. As soon as they begin to prepare to leave, we will send the eagle Uzushio. Don't you think that this is wrong? Kenji asked. After all, they themselves did not want to go to Uzushio, and the Uzumaki will try to capture them, if not kill them. After all, the children know the secrets of the Uzumaki clan, But Sama thought, let them live with us for now. We will tell the Uzumaki about this in 3 to 4 years. While talking, the members of the Senju clan had already reached their village. It was located in the forest. Among a dozen centuries-old, huge trees, it was the natural protection of the clan. Born in the forest, the village was not small, but it was not large either, so everyone knew each other, and on this basis they were united. As soon as everyone entered the village gate, Butsuma gave the order to go home. The head of the Senju Sea Otter himself began to walk slowly towards his house together with his son. They passed through dozens of people greeting them and gray-green houses until they reached the clan's estate. Hashirama, Butsuma called, already sitting in the house, I want you to gain the trust of these two Namikes. You can take Atama and Tobarama with you. I want them to participate in the war for our side and become our subclan, or at least vassals. But Tosan Hashirama looked decisively and firmly at his father. Why should we drag innocent people into this senseless battle? Wouldn't it be better to end this war right now, to live in a world where we will not lose anyone else? Why should we continue this senseless massacre where no one will win? We already talked about this during Kawarama's funeral. Butsuma growled, hitting the table with his fist. If we stop fighting now, Kawarama's death will definitely be meaningless, so don't you dare contradict me. Do you understand me? But, shut up! His father barked. Yes. Tosan Hashirama lowered his gaze, accepting his next defeat, although he did not agree with his father, but he did not contradict him further. Why did Tosan need that? A 7-year-old boy, Atama Senju, the youngest of the brothers, asked with a curious note. And why did he ask us to gain their trust? Well, Hashirama thought, and then answered with a wide smile. They are quite strong. Father wants them to participate in the war. In the clan library, in some chronicles, it was written about Namikaze Kizoku. They are generalists with the mind of the Nara. However, it is written there that if the Nara are strategists, then the Namikaze were warriors, so Father wants them to become our subclan, at most vassals. I wonder? 10-year-old Tobarama said thoughtfully. Why didn't Father capture them then, and use their genes for his own purposes? They would have run away when we came. They were already ready to run. They have some kind of movement technique better than Shunshin. So you can't convince them by force, you need to make friends. Wow, Atama beamed. And we can learn these techniques from them? Don't be silly, Atama. Tobarama sighed. They won't share knowledge with us. It's better for us to just attract them to our side. And here they are, said Hashirama, and knocked on the barrier. A minute later the barrier was opened by a blonde of about 14 years old. She waved her hand in a friendly manner and called the children into the house. And this is a house. Itama asked with wide eyes. Do houses like this exist? Some kind of palace. By God, Tobarama chuckled. Most likely they build houses like this. In principle they are practical, because they have 2 floors and take up less space. You're right, thought Hashirama. The last time he came here, he did not pay attention to the design of the house. But it is very different from their 1-story house in the traditional Japanese style. They also have their own hot springs. Itama was inspired. And what is that next to it? Well, Tobarama scratched the top of his head, thinking about it. Probably for training Suetun or swimming in it. There is most likely cool or warm water to swim in instead of a river, some kind of substitute for the sea or ocean. I see. Hashirama nodded with a wide smile. He was impatient to swim in this place and also throw stones across the river. Come home, don't be shy, Naruko shouted from the 1st floor window. The Senju calmly entered the house and took off their shoes. You can walk around the house while we cook dinner. And then the children from the Senju clan began to examine what they thought was a huge house. On the 1st floor they saw a kitchen where the Namikaze clan members were preparing dinner, a wide hall that could accommodate about 10 people, a toilet, a staircase leading to the 2nd floor, and a library closed with a sealing technique. Or maybe we should open it? Itama whispered. Hashirama looked at him with displeasure. For the first time, I agree with you, Itama. Tobarama whispered in response. Hashirama's eyes widened in surprise at these words. Don't look at me like that. There are definitely scrolls with techniques and a treasure trove of secret knowledge there. Otherwise, they wouldn't have built a Fuin castle. All the same, these are not our things. It's not nice. Hashirama shook his head, and then continued with a wide smile. But if we ask nicely, they won't be able to refuse us. You're a fool. Hashirama the middle brother sighed. If they sealed the library, it means they didn't want us to dig around in it. It's really none of our business. Send us upstairs. We'll have a look around there. Having climbed to the 2nd floor, they saw a bathroom, a toilet, and 3 bedrooms, one of which was a shared bedroom, and it was in it that Naruto and Naruko's things were kept. Look, Itama sighed enthusiastically, turning the light on and off. It won't be dark even at night. This is really cool. Hashirama echoed him, and Tobarama began to examine the Fuin. They have almost everything on Fuin. Tobarama guessed even the water from the bath is tied to Fuin. This is such knowledge. If only we had it, it would greatly simplify our life. It is clear. Itama began, but Tobarama closed his mouth and shushed him, thereby telling him not to blab about their mission once again. You never know, even the walls have ears. Boys, the food is ready, someone shouted from the 1st floor. Judging by the voice, it was clearly Naruko. We'll be right there, let us wash our hands, Hashirama shouted back. Okay. After the boys from the Senju clan washed their hands, they went downstairs. Everything was already ready there. The owners of the house were already sitting at the high table and waiting for guests. The kitchen smelled delicious, and the children could not stand it, because they wanted to eat new food for them, but they had to wait. Looking at the Namikaze family, by the way, Naruto and Naruko wore orange kimonos on top and dark pants on the bottom. It looked specific, so much so that the Senju thought that this was probably traditional clothing, like the same black kimonos of the Uchiha, or the white haori of Hyuga Itadakimas. I said and began to eat. After me. The same thing, said Naruko. And also began to eat food. The Senju looked at each other, and shrugged their shoulders, did the same, and began to gobble up the food with both cheeks. It's so delicious, Itama said with his eyes closed. The elders just nodded. What is your food? Don't talk with your mouth full, Itama, Tobarama said, frowning. Forgive his manners, he's still too young. It's okay. I waved my hand dismissively. Having finished my food, it's ramen, the food of the gods and our favorite dish. Cool, Itama beamed. In principle, Hashirama wasn't far behind him. Can you give us his recipe, please? Naruto laughed melodically at this, riveting the enchanted glances of the male half. Of course, little Itama, she chirped cheerfully. Itama pouted at such words. I'm not a little boy, he cried out belligerently, raising his hands. I'm already a shinobi and I've even killed people, so I'm an adult. Okay, the blonde gave in, smiling, although she barely held back a fake smile. The boy should not talk so serenely about murders, so she wanted to hit him for such words. I'm curious, what will you do for the next 4 years? Tobarama asked seriously, not allowing an awkward silence to form. He was also a little discouraged by his younger brother's statement, so he tried to change the topic. What do you mean, what? I answered the question with a question. We will live, and after 3 to 4 years pass, we will start traveling, and, if we find such a good place, we will settle there. And what about the clan? They asked again, but it was already Hashirama. Well, Naruko thought for a moment, and then beamed, and grabbing my hand, blurted out, we will restore it. All the elders choked on such a statement and an unequivocal hint, and only Itama stupidly blinked his eyes, not understanding what was being discussed. Then how about training? After a minute of shock, Hashirama asked, I don't care, you can go. I wanted to master one technique. I chuckled. What technique? The future Nidaime became interested. Suetun technique, I said distantly. Naruko frowned. Come on, Naruko, I'll teach you the techniques of your elements. And what elements do you have? Itama asked, looking at the two Namikes with eyes that couldn't be refused. You can't talk about your skills to anyone, remember that, little Itama, the owner of the house answered, not letting Naruko open his mouth. It was Tobirama who noticed. He only glanced at them but remained silent. It seems that the blonde is easier to talk to than Naruto. I have Futon, right, Naruko said, but she was poked in the side, not letting her finish. Why doesn't she listen to me? I wanted to hit my forehead with my hand, and that's it. Okay, send me to the training ground. She, unnoticed by Senju, stuck her tongue out at me and began to clear the table. Everyone immediately began to help her and drag the dishes to the sink. I'll wash it myself. You go. I'll catch up with you. The boys just nodded and hurried outside. For the first time they felt so calm and comfortable. No worries, no obligations, no oppressive father or the horrors of war, as if it was all a bad dream. However, they understood that it was just temporary. As soon as they left this place, the illusion of calm would dissipate. Why are you frozen like a pillar? I chuckled, clapping the eldest on the shoulder. Oh, well, Hashirama mumbled, it's cool and calm here. You're so lucky. Yes, nodded Naruko, who managed to run up to us at the training ground. The training ground was large, but ordinary. It had several training dummies and targets. Although, I promised to build a living taijutsu training ground, where targets could attack themselves in response to blows inflicted on them. Something like this was built by my father in my world. It will be very difficult. However, a voice pulled me out of my thoughts. But sometimes you miss your friends and relatives. Losing loved ones is always painful. Hashirama smiled sadly. Naruko shuddered. She remembered Minma, who is now living without his Eni-chan asterisk. Her eyes stung treacherously. Hey, what's wrong? Forgive me if I reminded you of someone. No, nothing. I just remembered my little brother, Naruko said, wiping away her tears. I frowned at this statement. I also felt sorry for Minma. We had already looked through each other's memories, believing that there was nothing to hide from each other, so I knew Minma as a little bundle of joy, who spoiled Naruko with his love and affection. Did you have another little brother? Itama asked, remembering Kawarama. Did he die too? Itama, Tobirama hissed, be quiet and don't get involved in such matters. Let's forget about this and start training. We just nodded quickly and started warming up. After all, this topic is not very pleasant for everyone. Having slightly warmed up, the Namikaze, twins, created clones and sent them to meditate, as well as to learn techniques in the forest. This greatly surprised the Senju brothers. They thought that they already knew how to create elemental clones, because they did not know that these were not elemental clones. Do you already know the technique of elemental clones? Itama asked curiously, but Tobirama frowned. It is impossible to create clones from Raitun or Futon. Too little physical energy is invested in the elements, unlike Suetun and Dotun, in which the physical component suppresses the spiritual. So Naruko could not create clones. Either she really did not tell the whole story then, or this is some new type of clones that no one knows about. And the platinum blonde for some reason was inclined to the second option, because he already had ideas about this. As you can see, I answered evasively, but inside I was furious at my forgetfulness and the fact that I showed the members of the Senju clan this technique, as well as the fact that Naruko, in her stupidity, told them her elements. Now, Tobirama can create Kage Bunshin earlier and the Senju will win the war without concluding a peace agreement between the clans. This will completely change history, and this cannot be allowed. Because then my friends or my parents may not be born. But having calmed down and suppressed many unnecessary thoughts, I remembered the words of Shinigami and Rikudo that you can live for your own pleasure, and even change the world if you want. At the same second, a crazy thought about becoming the Madara of this world spun through my head, but I quickly dismissed this idea. It was not my style. What kind of cloning technique is this? The fair-haired Senju decided to ask, and the brothers looked at him skeptically, but remembering that the girl did not have Suiton and she could not do Mizubunshin no Jutsu, they perked up and turned their gaze to us. Naruko mumbled, not knowing what to think of, and looked at me questioningly, thereby asking what to answer him. I also thought about it, and then decided, so to speak, to become the first owner of this technique. After all, Tobirama was not called a genius for nothing. He would definitely quickly come to the creation of this technique, especially if he had already seen and felt it with his sensory abilities. Is this Kage Bunshin no Jutsu shadow clone technique? Tobirama blinked. Very interesting. And how does it work? I looked at Senju like an idiot. Does he think that I'll just say this? And then shook my head. I won't tell you, but if you have any guesses, you can voice them. You will have one attempt in which I will tell you my answer. Further attempts will be ignored. Okay, Tobirama shook his hand, although he was 11 years old, but he was only slightly shorter than Hashirama, and his mind had long since surpassed him, so I had no doubt that Tobirama would quickly find the answer to his question. And will you teach it to us? Itama began to beg tearfully. Hashirama was also ready to beg them tearfully, but seeing that they did it for him, he simply began to nod his head like a dummy. No, I firmly sealed. Seeing how Naruko had almost given in to the snot of the younger one, we showed you. If you want to learn it, try it yourself. We will not teach you anything, Naruto. Everyone begged except Tobirama, although he also showed his interest. Let's at least help them with elemental techniques. We are also learning them ourselves. Okay, I grumbled, agreeing to this. But we will not be your teachers. We will just give advice when necessary. Now do not interfere with us and train yourself. We agree, the youngest and eldest of the brothers happily announced, but Tobirama only sighed heavily. Tobirama? Is there something you don't like? Hashirama shot him a glance, urging him to be more loyal to the blondes in order to fulfill their little mission. No, I'm for that too, the red-eyed man supported the brothers. Chapter 6. Overcome Yourself. Hermetism is an ascetic renunciation of worldly life according to various beliefs, with maximum limitation of external connections and removal to live in deserted places. For Naruto, the hermitage was supposed to be a retreat with calm nature, the energy of which was supposed to help him overcome his nightmares. He wanted to find peace being with himself, to gather his thoughts together. He had to figure himself out and live for himself. He didn't want to see people anymore, create bonds, feel the bitterness of loss, the pain of loss, or the cold of betrayal that he first felt when he learned that Hiruzen was involved in the destruction of Uzushio. He wanted so much to feel a peaceful and carefree life, but he had a feeling that fate was mocking him. At first, he was killed, not allowing him to leave the village, although he was even glad about this. However, the Shinigami girl and the old man Rikudo did not agree with him and sent him to another world, saying that he would have an accomplice. He resigned himself to it if it meant living a quiet life. Resigned himself to the noisy nature of the blonde who ended up in this world with him. But always this damn but. They were found by Senju, and now, goodbye peaceful days, hello missions once a month and enduring the heirs of the Forest clan. Every time they get into his personal affairs, all the time asking about their past, their family, or even their future, such curiosity of Hashirama and Itama simply infuriates, and each time only Naruko's gaze stops him from wringing the necks of the heirs. Yes, it's infuriating. All of this is infuriating. Give me the peace you've already promised. Naruto, Naruko's familiar voice called me. I had to open my eyes in irritation and look at her, because I lost my meditation, causing all the small forest creatures that were sitting on me to disperse to the sides. What do you want? I hissed, no worse than a snake, looking at the 14-year-old girl. Have you forgotten? She blinked at me in confusion, and I frowned in response, trying to remember everything that was connected with her, me, and the others. I couldn't remember anything and shrugged. I don't know what you're talking about, will you explain it to me? If not, then go away, you're annoying me, I quipped in response. Naruto, she looked at me with concern, have you really forgotten about your own birthday? Is today the 10th of October? I asked dryly, to which the girl became even more worried, but nodded. I don't celebrate my birthday, you can celebrate it yourself with Senju, come up with an excuse for me. But Naruto! The girl was indignant at such a statement. How can you not celebrate such a day? There are too many bad memories connected with this day. I smiled bitterly. I told you, please don't let me remember all this. Huh? She was confused by such a revelation, and then remembered what happened to me every day on October 10th, and what happened on that day on my 17th birthday. How many of my friends died there? Her face took on a painful grimace, which I ignored and sat back down to meditate. You know, Narabaka, I will make you get rid of these memories. This is my holiday. Nothing can spoil it, even your bad mood. But I refuse to spend it without you, so get up and follow me. I didn't answer her. I didn't know what to say, so I decided to ignore her, which apparently pissed off the blonde. I'll be there soon. She cast her last glance at me and ran towards our house. Mentally shrugging my shoulders, I continued to meditate. Naruko came a few hours later. It was already closer to evening, and I was already finishing my thoughts about techniques for my ability to intangibility. After all, it is a complex ability. However, I lost my thoughts when I saw her. She was wearing an orange jacket, shinobi sandals and dark-colored shorts, which suited her very well. In normal autumn weather she would be cold, but in the land of fire, winters rarely come, so now it was warm enough for her to walk around even without a jacket. However, it was not this that interested me, but her wary and hesitant look, as if she did not know whether she made the right decision or not. By this point I was no longer so irritated. Senjutsu calmed my nerves, so I was ready for any of her antics, and would react to them without any impulsiveness. What happened, Naruko? I asked her when she came close enough to me. Naruto, let me at least give you my present for our birthday? She hesitantly drawled. I don't need it, and I didn't get anything in return, so you don't have to give it to me. I crossed my arms over my chest, looking at her with my serious gaze. I told you not to bring this up. If that's all, then let's go. I'm hungry. Wait! She shouted, stopping my movement. I insist. Please take it from me, she said, holding out a small box to me. A bad feeling crept up on me, since the box said, "We love you, your friends." Okay, but just this once, never again. Do you understand me? I frowned. Naruto began to actively nod her head, showing her agreement. I snatched the box from her hands and reread the inscription on it again. Most likely it was not only from her, but also from Senju, although I would not call them friends, rather annoying irritants. Sighing, I began to unpack the box. There was a thin black book, and again it was written in gold. From your friends. A strange premonition did not leave me, but I decided to open the book, and when I did, it was as if a bucket of cold water doused me. There was a photo of our class, where even Sasuke was present. They were all smiling and seemed to be looking straight at me. However, I realized that it was a drawing by Naruto, so realistic that if you do not look at it for a long time, you can think that it is a photo. Under the picture was written, "We are Naruto's friends, and we will always be in his big and kind heart." After reading this, I choked from the memories of 14 to 16 years ago that came flooding back to me, from which I tried to fence myself off. My heart ached painfully. Again I felt a soul-tearing pain, looking at these faces that I tried in vain to forget, because every time I remembered them, I also remembered their broken bodies, the terrible smell and the dead look of glassy eyes. I was seized by a stupor, but I still managed to take my eyes off the book and look at the worried Naruto. She asked me with a gesture to continue. I bit my tongue, which I wanted to be indignant with when I saw her pitiful look. Reluctantly I gave in and turned the page. On the left side was a portrait of Shikamaru, who was smiling even with a cigarette in his teeth, and on the right page was the inscription, "You know, Naruto, it must be problematic to lose all your loved ones in the war. I don't know how you feel, my friend, but I have always been, am, and will be with you, no, not in your heart, but in the clouds above you. I will watch you from there. Consider that my dream has come true. As I read this entry, tears rolled down my eyes, but I was able to smile. Probably, if he were here, he would say so. Turning the page, I came across a kind smile from Ino. Naruto, I know that you are burdened by the death of our friends, but life does not end there. Please live on without worries, for their sake, because they would not want you to become such a recluse. A flower is useless if it does not bloom or if it withers. This was the girl's favorite phrase. I didn't think I missed her so much. After that, there was Chuji eating his chips. It made me snort. I never refuse food that is offered to me. This is my ninja way. But Naruto, your ninja way was to never give up. Remember who you were and who you are. I believe in you, my ramen-eating rival. You will cope with all difficulties. Just don't give up. A shiver ran through me. Team number 10, my friends, those I will never see again. How I miss them. I wanted to cry and release all my emotions, but with trembling hands I just started scrolling further. When I saw Rock Lee, my eyes glazed over. I remembered how he and Guy Sensei opened the ultimate gate and died as charred pieces of meat. Even my recovery skills didn't help. Naruto-kun, I believe that the power of youth still burns in you. No matter how bad you feel, no matter how much you miss us, you must be stronger than this. You must overcome the difficulty of loss. I hope that someday the flame of youth will light up in you again and you will protect those who are dear to you. Tenten followed him. Naruto-kun, don't run from the kunai. You will die tired. Overcome this pain, then you will not be afraid of anything. I will always be with you, in your heart, like shurikens in a ninja's pouch, and I believe that you can live happily without us. After all, friends are needed for this, to support. Even after death. The third was Niji Hyuga with his always gloomy expression. I told you before, but I'll repeat it again, your life does not belong to you alone. We laid down our lives for you to live, for you to change the world and bring happiness to it, and I want you not to regret your life. About your losses. I want you to live happily. You are the one who freed me from the shackles of fate, opened the cage for the bird, the one who opened my all-seeing eye, so I do not regret that I laid down my head for you. Live on for me and my sacrifice. A lump stuck in my throat, my heart was beating wildly, and I seemed to be slowly suffocating. Reading all this hurt, but at the same time it was relieving, as if a stone had been lifted from my shoulders. Guy Sensei's team, my friends, energetic Rock Lee, kind Tenten and genius Niji, how I want to see them again. On the next page I saw Shino Abirame. No matter how much time has passed, you must remember the faces of your comrades. Why? Because you might hurt their feelings. But my friend, you must not dwell on the past. Why? Because it will eat away at you from the inside. Let them go, Naruto, that's my advice to you. I let out a nervous chuckle when I read that, since I could easily imagine the adult Shino saying that. Shaking my head, I turned the paper over to see Kiba smirking. To die or be killed is the law of life. It's better than living without a purpose. If you've lost your purpose in life and given up without finding a new one, kill yourself, loser, that's a shame for someone like me. Or if you're the Naruto I remember, then rise from the ashes like a reborn phoenix. Although reborn dog would sound better. I snorted at that statement, but smiled wearily. I knew who would be on the next page, but I desperately didn't want to open it. Gathering my thoughts, I turned the page and looked at the lavender eyes of the girl who loved me for free. Her thin lips were folded in a kind, innocent smile, and her gaze was so warm that I wanted to cry again. Naruto-kun, all I did was cry. And immediately gave up, and chose the wrong path so many times. And then you, Naruto-kun, guided me to the right path. I always strove for you. Wanted to catch up with you. Always walked next to you. Where you are. I changed thanks to you, Naruto-kun. Your smile saved me. I love you, and because of this I can't watch you torture yourself because of our death. Please, for my sake. Let us go and live freely. I want you to live, not just exist. I hung my head, shaking with sobs. I'm pathetic, just a nobody. First I couldn't save my friends, and then I simply devalued their sacrifice. Considering myself a great martyr, I devalued the death of the girl who loved me. I simply trampled her feelings. I'm a terrible person. Why was I saved and not them? Why did all this happen to me? And then I was hugged. I felt the warmth of closeness. The dam collapsed, and I screamed from helplessness, screamed from pain, screamed trying to call my friends, in the end, screamed because after screaming it became easier. I sobbed in Naruto's chest. And she consoled me, stroking my head. A lot of time passed before I calmed down. I had an exhausted look, my eyes were red from tears, sunken cheeks and trembling hands. But I reached for the book. I wanted to find out what the others would write to me, how they would react to that. How do I live? What would they say? But my hand was intercepted by thin girlish palms. Naruto, let's do it another time, please. She looked at me worriedly, still hugging me. Forgive me, I wanted you to cry, for you to share your bitterness with me, so that you would feel better. It's okay, I whispered hoarsely. You helped me. I really feel a lot better. But you're right, I should be patient for a little while before reading everyone else's wishes, so let's bake a cake for our birthday and celebrate it properly. The girl beamed at that, but quickly caught herself and apologized, to which I laughed weakly. Thank you, Naruto, and again I'm sorry, she said and let me go, getting to her feet. I also stood up and followed her into the house. There I washed myself, tidied myself up, after which we began to prepare the cake. It was funny to watch the concentrated Naruko, who was covered in flour and trying to mix the ingredients. Of course I did not laugh much after that emotional shock, but giggles escaped. After that we blew out the candles on our 14th birthday and made our wishes. Kami-sama, please do not deprive me of Naruko too, that's all I wish for. After Naruko and I blew out the candles, we went to the clearing, where we irritated the cicadas with our winds so that they would fly away. It was beautiful to watch the fireflies light up with millions of stars and rush upward, away from our clearing into the endless black sky. After that, we began to look at real stars and their constellations. For the first time I felt so good and pleasant. I haven't felt so carefree for a long time. I wish this day would never end. Thank you for today, I said, looking at the bright moon. Thank you for the gift, thank you for the cake, for the time spent, thank you for helping me, and thank you for being there, Naruko. You're welcome, the girl answered embarrassedly, and I pulled her closer to me, making her squeak. I so want to scold you for using my memories without my consent, but I can't, because you made my tossing and turning easier. But can I ask you for something? After waiting for her consent, I continued, you are all I have left, all that keeps me afloat, so please just promise me that you will never leave me alone, ever, I asked, punching her in the temple. Still embarrassed, she could only nod in my arms. I promise, but you, too, please read everyone else's notes when you feel better. She buried herself deeper in my arms and squeaked from there, and promise me that you will never leave me alone. I promise, I said, smiling and looking at the full moon with the stars surrounding it. Chapter 7. 4 years later. It's better to endure any difficulties with a smile, even if that smile is fake. I think you understand what I mean by this, Naruto. Akashi sighed. At this rate, for years past, the war between the Uchiha and the Senju became even more fierce. Some time after the Senju brothers met the Namake's family, Itama Senju died at the hands of the Uchiha along with Hagoromo, and Butsuma did not get what he wanted. Naruto led him around by the finger for a whole year, and in the end the head of the Senju gave up trying to recruit Namakes, so he begged for a couple more elemental techniques of lightning and fire. The blonde had to give them to him. Fortunately for Butsuma, because the techniques were practical, and their explanation is excellent. Hashirama, however, still insisted that he would build a world without war, where people would live like in our clearing, calmly and quietly, to their own delight. This did not affect me. I was the same optimist idiot, and if it were not for the realization of loneliness and the loss of all friends after that war, I would have remained the same. After all, the higher you try to fly, the more painful it is to fall. I felt this, so now I will fight only for myself and Naruko. But his younger brother, Tobirama, did not believe in these fairy tales, although he supported Hashirama. By the way, about Tobirama, he did figure out what the shadow cloning technique is based on, and studied it without any tips, confirming his status as a genius. The same thing happened with the Hiraishin. He saw it with me and Naruko a couple of times, which is why he delved into the Senju library in the Jukuken ninjutsu section, and then he thought it up himself, creating his own mark, but he decided to master it only this year. We gradually returned most of my skills. Naruko, thanks to my leadership and clones, quickly progressed, not lagging behind me, and proved the fast learning ability of our blood. Fortunately, chakra and heredity helped, because our chakra channels are quite large. Chakras, thanks to the fact that we inherited the volume from our mother, are immeasurable. Our physical energy is quite large, and due to the fact that we are older than our physical body, there is no strong imbalance in the yang component, physical component, as in the past life, which gave control a sigh of relief. We took advantage of our position greatly, creating dozens of clones for training and accelerating it. Naruko especially took advantage of this, studying Orochimaru's scrolls. She even asked to create an underground laboratory for her, to which I gently refused, because we will soon have to leave. However, I still shudder from her gaze at first. When she spoke about experiments, her gaze was full of bloodthirsty enthusiasm. She was probably already mentally dissecting someone, and when I refused her, this gaze promised to dissect me. But I endured, and we came to a compromise that when we find the ideal place, we will make her a laboratory. But with the art of shinobi it was more interesting. If in order, then in taijutsu we studied the fighting style founded by me. It included mainly unpredictability and speed, only then came agility and strength, and the main highlight in it were the jutsushiki set during the battle. They were set during accidental touches of the ground with the palm, for example, when we do a sweep and lean our hand on the ground, or when we do a backflip with the help of the hand. And if the enemy gets under the techniques zone, we teleport and hit the opponents with techniques or weapons. By the way, about the Horatian marks, we decided to use a common mark for two. We puzzled over it for a long time, in the end deciding to make just a circle of small symbols, inside which lightning shone, and around the circle 3 stripes of small written kanji, the same ones we had on our cheeks in a past life, only there was a solid line there. By the way, about our decision on a common mark, it would simply be unreasonable to throw twice as many kunai with marks, because we made separate orders for such kunai, and they were expensive. We solved the problem with teleportation easily. We applied 2 marks at once to these same kunai. This made the task of teleportation easier for 2, but we jumped on single marks that we burned by touching one after the other. This is of course a problem, but so far I have not been able to solve it. Ninjutsu we learned by leaps and bounds. Naruko already mastered all 3 elements, and knew all the techniques that I brought. The same with me. I again learned to master all the elements and mastered my techniques anew, but with the improved genome it is not so simple. I called it Mukitan, release of intangibility, and could make the body or anything that is not larger than my body, intangible once every 15 seconds and hold this state for half a minute, and even so, I quickly ran out of breath, because it spent an incredible amount of chakra, so it seems like a bonus, but it is necessary to train it further. On its basis, the Megura technique was created, very similar to Kajuru, which was used by Kurozetsu. You can go into the ground, walls and other things. After suppressing your presence, I can spy, steal and much more, and also move in such places at high speed. Next are Kenjutsu and Byakunjutsu. Here I took it out on Naruko. At first I taught her to throw kunai and shurikens from any place to any point, as the masters of the Uchiha clan did. Due to the lack of a Sharingan, she spent a lot of time on this, and then to fight with 3-pronged kunai, then with a katana, 2 short swords, a fan, a tanto, and finally a scythe. But in the end, although the girl's main weapons were 2 short swords and a little less often a tessen, she knew how to use all types of weapons that she learned to use. I took the kunai as my main weapon, but when necessary, I used a katana, since I wielded it skillfully. Although all this was difficult for Naruko, such progress pleased her. She did not even know about the capabilities of her blood, because they did not even try to teach her. Her mother was sick, and her father was at work. Fuinjutsu. Probably this part was equally difficult for both of us. After all, no matter what anyone says, but mixed blood cuts off many of the capabilities of the scarlet-haired devil clan. Let's say Naruko couldn't awaken the chakra chains, as well as learned some aspects of Uzumaki's Fuinjutsu. Even I didn't advance any further in this path of shinobi, and I didn't strive for it. Although, it would be worth it for us to find a teacher in combat Fuin. But with Genjutsu everything is not so simple. At first it was given to us with difficulty, because in the past life, as I said, we did not have enough spiritual energy, so we were not predisposed to it. However, in this world after some time, it gave in to us, and we began to study it intensively. Of course we could not compare with the masters of Genjutsu from the Kurama, Yuhi or Uchiha clans. But we could dispel almost all illusions, as well as impose quite good single-layer or double-layer illusions on the enemy. But no matter how good we were at this is not our calling. We are just good average in this for now. Although, Senjutsu improved our ability in Genjutsu, which was undoubtedly a plus. But where we both progressed was in the art of Jikuken. Naruko learned all my techniques, and I created another one. Her idea was the following: after using the technique, a symbol of the god of thunder appears in the center, and clouds begin to thicken there, which cover the area of the technique. After preparation, I can teleport anywhere in the area of the technique. But at the same time, I must see this place, or know exactly where I want to move, and where I move, lightning will strike. I called this technique Jikuken, Inazuma, lightning leap, and taught it to my sister. Perfect, well done, you've mastered the hermit mode. Over the years I'd become more relaxed and behaved with her like a true older brother. No, of course I sometimes saw her embarrassment or true feelings for me. After all, I had an Erosenin as a teacher. You can't be his student and not be so knowledgeable in love affairs. However, I was in no hurry with this. Let her figure it out herself and gain courage, and I'll see. Naruko's reaction to my brotherly love was ambiguous. This both pleased her and scared her. What if I reject her feelings? Now we'll go to free summoning and sign a contract with them, do you agree? Yes, but what if we get thrown into a dead summoning, or where they can eat us? Tusan told me that it was very dangerous, and then she hissed, grimacing, and that's why I had the summoning of toads. Come on, the Gamma clan are normal guys, I grinned, remembering how I often drank with Gamabunta and Gamakichi. The toads got into such stories. Of course, they cook badly. But still, and so, about your question, you know that I can proudly call myself a master of Jikuken. And so I created a seal of reverse teleportation in case of a threat to life, and if they want to kill you, then just feed chakra into the seal, I said, while I was putting the seal on the girl's neck. But first, enter Sannin mode and make a dense cover of chakra around yourself. This will protect you. Got it, the blonde nodded, calming down. Then go ahead. I nodded in response and began to fold the reverse summoning seals. In the middle of folding the seals, I was kissed on the cheek, which made me freeze for a moment. It's for luck, the blonde said before a loud poof echoed across the clearing. Chapter 8. The Call. After the clap I found myself in some plains. I realized that I had entered the normal world of summoning, so I sat down to meditate, waited and scanned the area. After a couple of minutes I felt 2 chakra signatures approaching me at a very high speed. I was surprised by their speed, because even I find it difficult to develop such speed without my technique. But I had to wait for them in place. However, the creatures had no friendly intentions and they suddenly began to attack. So, I cursed myself for being too trusting and dodged these animals, trying to attack. The animals themselves were somewhat similar to cats, had a light color and black spots all over their bodies. After the first injury of the largest of them, they suddenly stopped moving and looked at me in surprise, as if they saw Rikudo. Who are you? And how did you get here, human? The cat asked seriously. At least that's what I thought, because her voice was pleasant, feminine. I am Naruto Namikaze, I answered, looking at these cats. I got here through free summoning. I wanted to make a contract with you. And who are you? I see, the second one frowned. This cat already had a male voice. He tore his tongue from the wound that he was healing by licking, and continued to speak. We are cheetahs, or the Cheetah clan. You are in the Ishikari Plains. We must take you to the elder. My name is Akur, and my friend Miho. Follow us. I nodded obediently and silently, following the cheetahs. Akur had already healed his shallow wound and was walking calmly. They were also silent, of course, but they did not look around like I did. Why? No matter how you look at it, the place was beautiful: a large green plain, a beautiful meadow, a couple of trees where the same cheetahs were sitting, some even a little bigger, and there was also a blue-violet sky with 2 suns. It was mesmerizing. "We have arrived," Akur said calmly. Namikaze looked at him in bewilderment. After all, they had simply moved to the same place where he had teleported. Miho noticed this and hastened to explain in her soft and melodic voice. "We live in pits. Since it is very hot here during the day, we often have to hide underground. The plains are a good place for hunting and training. After all, we often rely on our speed, but there are no caves or anything else in our lands, and we cannot build everything ourselves, so an elder lives here, and next to this place are elders." "Elders?" I decided to clarify, but shut up as soon as I saw the elder. The elder was huge, of course not like toads, slugs, or snakes, but quite impressive in size. At least the height of the cheetah reached our 2-story house. The elder had a coloring not like everyone else, light fur with black spots, but was completely white with red pupils from the eyes, which according to Orochimaru's research meant some kind of genetic disease. I remembered, it seems like albinism. "Hello, elder." The cheetahs bowed, and I did the same, not daring to irritate her. Although I don't think she could handle me, I need allies like that, so I'll have to respect her and win their favor. "A human?" The elder was slightly surprised, and then, propping her chin on her paws and lying down in the best traditions of Kurama, she continued, "What do you need from us?" "Call me Mafde." "Hello, Mafde-sama, I'm Naruto Namikaze. I'd like to sign a summoning contract with you." The cheetah looked at me intently, and then growled a little, but calmed down. It seems she didn't like my phlegmatic appearance, although who would have liked it? Kakashi's appearance irritated absolutely everyone. "We only have a blood contract, because we don't have a summoning scroll. We are a relatively young summon. You've probably already noticed that we don't have as much chakra as the Gama, Hibi, or Katsui clans. It's not a problem. I even got a little inspired. It was not for nothing that I studied the Uzumaki knowledge about summonings. I can create a summoning scroll for you, and I would like it to be a clan contract between us, the Cheetah clan and the Namikaze clan." "What will we get out of this?" Mafde asked. "It seems they really need an exit to the light, although I do not remember such a summoning in my past. Summoners, their own Sannin mode, good partners, and an exit to our world," I listed. "Do you know the Sannin mode?" Akur was surprised, but then came to his senses and apologized for interrupting the elder's conversation. "So be it, we agree to sign a contract with your clan." Mafde nodded. "After that you will show us your Sannin mode and show us how to learn it, but if you lied, I will have to kill you." "I understand you," I said seriously, although I mentally snorted. "There is so much natural energy here that I will gather it almost instantly, after which it will be difficult to fight with me." Today I was happier than ever. I was able to sign a contract with interesting animals, and also showed them the method of teaching toad senjutsu, made a training ground for them, and showed the Sannin mode. When demonstrating the mode, it turned out that in the cheetah Sannin mode, a complete black outline of the eyes appeared, from which there were stripes that lead to the mouth like cheetahs. Well, if the control of the Sannin chakra is good, I think that if it is worse, then tails, ears, or kami forbid, for will appear. In the cheetah Sannin mode, the speed increased several times due to the fact that the general circulation of the chakra channels in the muscles became greater, and the senses also became more acute: vision, hearing, which allowed one to navigate the terrain well without sensors, and also see at night almost like during the day, without worrying about vision. But it was a shame to lose the superpower of toads. "Thank you, Naruto Namikaze." Mafde thanked for this. "Your summon for the fight will be Kaitishin, the strongest of us, and your personal ones will be Akur and Miho. We allow you to give a contract to all those whom you consider worthy, and we bow our heads before you in gratitude." "Thank you too, Mafde-sama," I sincerely answered, adjusting the scroll of summoning on my back. Folding the seals of reverse summoning, I moved to the clearing near the house. There was already sitting a very scared Naruto. She was shaking with fear, which surprised me. POV Naruko Namikaze. After Naruto moved, I decided to use this technique too. Sighed, bit my finger, and started to fold the seals. Of course, before that, As my dear Naruto said, I strengthened my body with chakra, and also entered the Sannin mode and enveloped myself in a thick shroud of chakra. As soon as I moved, it became dark, but in this darkness I saw a terrible thing, and before I was teleported back, I realized that I was deep under water, and I was saved by a shroud of reinforced Sen chakra. But as soon as I saw that monster, I turned pale, my heart sank with fear, and before my eyes, as if my whole life had flown by, it was a huge fish, with a terrible distorted face and huge teeth. Its eyes were dull white, as if blind, and above its head there was something that was glowing. I think it sensed me and tried to eat me, and if it weren't for the transfer seal, I would already be dead. As soon as I found myself in my world, I sank to the ground. I was shaking from that sight, my eyes widened, and I tried to come to my senses at least a little. Now this monster will be in my nightmares. I don't even know how long I sat there, but after a while I was hugged. I realized that it was Naruto. I finally felt protected, because of which I burst into tears on his chest. End POV Naruko Namikaze. On a beautiful meadow with flowers, where there was a large house, a decent pool and hot springs, sat two teenagers of about 18 years old. One of them looked, to put it mildly, not very good, all pale with trembling shoulders. She was loudly crying in the chest of a blond guy who was trying to console her. In the end, spitting on this matter, he used the technique. Ninpo, forced sleep technique. I said, making a concentration seal with one hand and putting the girl to sleep. Ninpo, sleep purification technique. Now you will sleep peacefully and without nightmares, then we'll talk. I calmed her down, PTS2 on the lips, and then pulled myself away. After all, I have to play the role of an older brother, although sometimes I have sharp impulses for more. Having moved to the girl's room, I laid her on the bed and went to mine. The girl woke up closer to the evening. During this time Naruto managed to go hunting and take a shower, and now he was preparing dinner. The blonde stretched and went down to the kitchen. The head of the house had already put food on the table and was waiting for his little sister. What happened? The girl asked, starting to eat, and then remembered what happened, but now she was calmer. Although she had goosebumps, it doesn't matter, I want to forget it. I see, I said, frowning. After all, those memories are really creepy. And then sighed sadly. I looked through your memories and I'm sorry that you were destined to see this. I'm a lousy older brother. I should have gone myself, and then let you sign the contract. No! The blonde shook her head. She was already pretty irritated by this hyper-custody. At first it was nice, but now it is not. I wanted my own summoning, but it did not work out. But I signed a contract, I said cheerfully, deciding to change the subject. But I only saw my sister's sad face, so I decided to please her, and they agreed to become a clan contract. After the meal you will sign a scroll and we'll have the summoning of cheetahs. Cheetahs? Naruko was surprised. Are those spotted cats that can also run fast? Cool, they are so cute. Are you really going to give me a contract? Let's eat faster then, Databeo. I silently chuckled, looking at how Naruko quickly devoured the miso soup. Come on, you'll have time later. Let's discuss what we're going to do instead. What do you mean? The girl was surprised. Do you want to do something new? No, we need to move, but Sama is not happy. We need to get out of here quickly, and I don't know what to do. I don't want to participate in the war, as well as in the creation of Konoha. I will simply be disgusted to live there. And when the village is created, then all the wars in the land of fire will stop, because everyone understands that it will be dangerous to be in a country where two of the strongest clans have united, and the other clans, like us, will have only two choices, either leave the country or join the village. You know what, Naruto, the girl sang, giving out a brilliant idea. Let's go to Uzushio. I want to be in our mother's homeland. I raised a skeptical eyebrow. This is not her first attempt to hint to me that we go to Uzushio, and now she says it to me directly, which discourages me. This is the worst place to settle down. It will be destroyed in about 40 years. Do you want your grandchildren to perish in that village? But, the blonde with two pigtails protested, waving her hands comically, we can save it, please. I always listened to my mother's stories, and when she told me about Uzushio, there was so much sadness in her voice that it cut my heart. I beg you. Well, okay, I reluctantly agreed, I didn't like this adventure, but I also understood that Naruko was stubborn in her decisions and she simply didn't have enough communication with ordinary people. But you must understand that with our actions we will not only help to put Uzushio in danger, but also most likely speed up this process. Then there will be a war anyway, and most likely, if Uzushio becomes strong enough to defend herself, she will be attacked in the First World War. According to the stories, it will happen in 6 to 7 years, maybe a little more. I don't care, the blonde snapped, resolutely looking into the azure eyes of her beloved with the same azure eyes. Then, victoriously raising her hands, she shouted, "We will exalt Uzushio. And we will win this war." Oh, I tiredly rubbed the bridge of my nose. Kami-sama, give me the strength to make her goal achievable. Then tomorrow we will get ready and set off. Thank you, Naruto. The blonde happily jumped on me, pressing her considerable breasts into me, which made me catch my breath. I decided to quickly drive this bitch away from me, until the tightness in my pants became painful. I still couldn't fall asleep. Several hours had passed since then, and my dick didn't even think of going down. Even a cold shower didn't help with this problem. Because of this, I had to sleep without underwear. But even so, sleep doesn't come at all. It's as if I drank coffee before going to bed, which is why I'm tense and irritated now. Maybe I should go and train? The creaking of the door brought me out of my thoughts. Hello, are you awake? Naruto was dressed only in a white t-shirt and underwear, which confused me a little, but I ignored it. No, also insomnia? Yes, let's talk? I have something to tell you. The girl smiled softly and sat on my bed, throwing her head back on my lap. For a moment, there was a peaceful silence. No one wanted to interrupt it, but the blonde still decided to do something. Naruto, when we go to Uzushio, if you find yourself a girlfriend, please don't forget me. In general, Naruko never had such close people. All his life his father devoted time only to work, and his mother to recovery. And when Kushina Uzumaki, after 10 long years of torment, was able to rehabilitate, she immediately became pregnant, and only during the pregnancy could Naruko receive affection from this woman, and after, Menma, the boy who took up all of his mother's time. She did not have truly close people, because they all wanted to enlist the support of the Hokage, either for political or other purposes, and the best choice through whom to do this was his ignorant daughter. Those few who dared to come close to her, overcoming their fear of Kyuubi, came across the shell of sarcasm with which Naruko defended herself, and Naruko's only good friend was the shy Hinata. However, no one was as close to her as one blonde. From the very beginning, Naruki's interest was aroused. After all, her alternative was from another world, and after she wanted to break through the shell of phlegmaticness, he seemed too calm, too indifferent, and too wrong. She tried to fix it. She wanted to bring back that cheerful guy she imagined from his memories. Although not completely, but partially, she succeeded. But she did not even notice how during all this time she became attached to this person, and she did not want to lose him and all those memories of the time they spent together. Of course I won't forget you. Her thoughts were stopped by a pleasant male voice. You, the one who gave me the warmth of a family, the one who brought me out of a depressive state, the one who didn't abandon me and didn't betray me, you are my whole world. And even if I find someone for myself, she won't be as dear to me as you are. I slowly wiped away her tears. I don't know what kind of drama is going on here, but it seems like she's starting to get hysterical. I want to tell you something, the girl mumbled and shuddered under his gaze. However, a moment later she straightened up, and a determined gleam appeared in her eyes. I love you. Without waiting for an answer, she PTS him. Naruto was already expecting him to let go of her, scold her, and quarrel with her. But her shock knew no bounds when they started to answer her points. And what did you do here? Brushing away the girl's tears, I asked. How whiny she was, of course. I would like to be your older brother. But I don't think I can let you go to someone. I love you too. The girl's happiness knew no bounds when he also confessed his love to her. She wrapped her arms around his neck and pulled him into a long and passionate pee.